The Toronto Raptors get another road win, this time against a much better team, the 5-1 Dallas Mavericks. The Raptors get a huge bounce back performance from Spicy P, Pascal Siakam, that was efficient. They get a huge night on the boards and on the back end of their defense from Scottie Barnes, and they get a brilliant two-way performance from O.G Anunoby, one of his best games of his season. The Dallas Mavericks get 53 points from Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, but I think they really missed Derek Lively tonight. This was a very weird game. There's a lot to break down. Call link is in the description below. I apologize if my eyes are a little bit runny. I spent the entire night up editing a video on Scottie Barnes that just went out this afternoon. I hope you've had a chance to check it out. If you haven't, definitely go check it out after you see this live. And we already got Coach Mo in line. If you would like to join the conversation, absolutely come on board, and we'll talk about this game, what we saw, what happened. All right, let's hit that intro. All right, all is well that ends well. This was not a fun game to watch in the first half. It was ugly. There were so many issues on the defensive rotations. There's a lot of just probing, looking for my shot kind of stuff. But OG Anunoby really did a great job on Luka Doncic. I mean, honestly, 31 points. How much more can you ask of him? But I think more so than anything, there was a lot of offensive toughness from OG Anunoby. And Pascal Siakam really found a groove, right? It was kind of getting shaky there. There was a lot of games in single digits. And, there was a lot of talk over the last few days about, trading Pascal Siakam. He can't find his way in the offense. One thing the Raptors have very rarely been able to do is activate both Pascal and Scottie in the same game. And today it was a lot of Pascal and not a lot of Scottie, which is probably just fine because I think it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You win, right? So for Scottie, the Raptors go small a lot, not a lot of minutes for Jakob Poeltl. So he has the task of just manning the defensive glass, and he does a great job there, crashing the offensive glass, being a bit of a post hub, trying to be a facilitator, backline communicator, doing a lot of stuff that Jakob would do if he was out on the court. And then from Pascal Siakam, there was a lot of isolation. Now, I personally think Grant Williams is a really good defender. So I don't think that there's anything, theoretically wrong that if you think Pascal Siakam is struggling to just go single coverage on him. But he attacked. And today, if I have time, if one of the callers wants to talk about it, I want to talk about advantage generation in the offense. Like, what does it look like and what are the Raptors trying to do with their offense? Because there seems to be a lot of, okay, it's either pass, or it's isolation ball. And actually, it's not really that way at all. Isolation basketball has a place within this offense. And I think tonight you get the first, in my opinion, good game from Gary Trent Jr. It was assured. There was like a stretch where I was like, every shot he was taking was like within the rhythm. He passed up a couple of really bad looks that I was expecting him to take. And I think this is just a good thing. Grady Dick does not get off the bench. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he got off the bench. Darko has done this a few times where if you really leak oil in the first half, you don't get in the second half. And it happened to Malachi once. It's happened to Jalen McDaniels, did not get into the game today. And then you got Malachi Flynn. This was such a good game for Malachi Flynn. I know that you're seeing the box score and you're like 8 points, whatever. But him going mano a mano with Kyrie Irving is supposed to go one way. And in my opinion, he played him even. In those minutes, he was guarding him like he had a possession where he guarded Luka Doncic. I mean, that guy's a load. And this was just such a gutsy performance from Malachi Flynn. Uh, I just really loved it. Chris Boucher. Okay, so fun fact. I made a tweet the other day. I wish I had pulled up the graphic if I thought about it ahead of time, where I pointed out a stat. It was a really random stat in which I said that the Raptors are 0-2 in games. They are 0-2 in games where they are 2-0 in games where Otto plays, and they are also 2-0 in which Chris does not play. And I was not expecting this. We don't have that many followers on Twitter. Generally speaking, our tweets get 10, 15 likes, whatever. It doesn't usually blow up into anything. We're not ESPN. And next thing you know, I'm like, why is this tweet blowing up? Chris Boucher responded, and he said, I respect that. I felt truly bad for him because I'm not trying to say that he's been bad or anything. It's just sometimes he really struggles with this advantage generation and read and react offense. And I apologized because I have a lot of respect for Chris's path and his hustle and his heart. Can never question that. And tonight he just kind of came out like a man possessed. He was perfect from the field, and I don't think he had a great game by any means. There was a lot of stuff, off balance, out of rhythm, right? But he goes 4 for 4 from the field, and congratulations. This is the first game in which Otto has played and Chris has played, and you were like, one of these streaks is going to end tonight because they haven't played in the same game yet, because typically Otto is replacing him. And tonight, because Jakob Poeltl only plays 21 minutes, I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if it was because of foul trouble, but he did not come back in the fourth quarter. So, okay, the streak is broken. Chris Boucher has now won a game where Otto Porter played, and Otto had 0 points and Chris had 10. I think Otto played well, reasonably well. I think, his minutes were really good. They were really steady. Grady Dick really struggled. This is back-to-back games, or, 2 out of 3 games within succession where he's really struggled. And, looks tentative, looks a little bit rushed, a little bit like things are too fast. Defensively, he's been struggling all year, but you need him to pop offensively for you. At some point this season, he's going to have to find his rhythm as a shooter, right? Because tonight, you don't get a good shooting performance from Scottie Barnes, and you see what your 3-point percentage looks like when you don't get that. Now, thank God for, Gary Trent Jr., you get like a decent performance from him to offset some of that. But Pascal Siakam goes 0 for 5 from 3. Scottie Barnes goes 0 for 4 from 3. Mama said there will be nights like this, right? You go 0 for 9 from 3, and that's why you shoot 30% from 3. And, compound that, right? You go 66% from the line, and you're asking me, Rob, how did you win this game? Honestly, your guess is as good as mine, right? Early on, there were so many blown assignments. Honestly, they lost Jones Jr. like every time. If you go back and freeze frame the Raptors, like every time someone scored, there was someone looking at someone with their arms up, like, what the hell is going on? And the Mavericks, they went on that 11-0 run early on. The Raptors came out guns blazing. But yeah, jeez, this is a very interesting game when you think about it. Like, how do you lose this game if you're the Raptors? You take care of the ball, right? To some extent, you take care of the ball and you try to keep them off the line. And yeah, I think the refs were crazy in this one. I honestly, it's hard for me to even fathom how they won this game. So I'm going to leave it up to you. You explain to me how you win a game where you play like this. I think credit where credit is due. Scottie Barnes, intense, saves you like quite a few shots on the back end of it. I think that was good. Siakam, just tough shot making, right? They're going to play you one-on-one like that. They're not going to send a double. They're trusting Grant Williams to just contain him one-on-one. This has worked in years past. I got to be honest, this has worked, for the Boston Celtics. Once in a while, they just play him one-on-one and it works. But not sending any help at all, regardless of how deep he gets, this could be a recipe for disaster. It's a little bit disrespectful, to be honest. When you look at the pregame parlays and stuff, Pascal Siakam is no longer, the leading scorer for the Raptors. Like that's interesting. Makes sense. But it was good to see him. Hopefully he can build on this, right? It felt like the team made a concerted effort to get him going early on. They fed him touches early in the first. He got on the glass, he got on the offensive glass. His defense to me is just, I was very, very upset by his defense. In the first 7 minutes, I think Pascal Siakam probably played one of the worst stretches of individual defense that I could ever imagine. I think he had 7 or 8 blown coverages and or assignments. Unlike in other games where this has happened, however, he did have a fairly decent offensive game. And then later on, once they started to send a double, you saw some of the playmaking come out of it too. I think he found Malachi for a really nice shot. There was one pass to Gary, and then there was that little pass to Scottie right in the paint. And, it got a little bit better. His game got better as it went along. There was even some, inspired defense later on. But yeah, in the beginning, the defense was really troubling. And I was like, oh my God, like he's going to cost you the game. And then, he doesn't. Okay, let's bring on some callers. We got Coach Mo, Raptors Truth Teller, Jonathan, and Lane. Okay, this is going to be a very lively conversation. Let's get to it. We have 400 of you in here. Coach Mo, what's going on? Raptors Truth Teller, how's it going?
Hey,
Jonathan, how are you? And
What's
Lane,
going
how you
on?
doing?
What's
All
up?
right, we got all 4 of you. Okay, who wants to go first? Let's see. Jonathan, what's up?
Well, first of all, went into the game super anxious, and man, I read and kind of got a few peeks at the softie that Dallas is throwing down right now, and seeing it in action because I haven't watched much tape on Dallas. Holy shit! Like those guys were like potted plants under the fucking basket. It was ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Like I could not believe what was like. Scottie was like Mr. Clean all night, just wiping boards.
I mean, I think both teams played abysmal defense. I mean, there
Yeah,
are parts of it where it was like, do you want to go to the basket? No, it felt like an all-star game at times with very few
Yes.
all-stars. But, it was like, what the hell am I watching here? And how are we winning? It is a comedy of errors. This game was really strange. Lane, what are your thoughts, man?
If I speak, I'm gonna get fined, but I don't care. Ben Taylor was fucking trash tonight.
Okay, Fred. Okay, Fred. I get the reference. Fred has, because of how intensely viral that thing went, Ben Taylor is now like, he is so known because he used his name in the clip, right?
Yeah.
He individually called him out. He said, Ben Taylor is fucking terrible. He is now like one of the most known referees. You know what I mean? It's like Dick Bavetta or someone like that, like where you can just, Ed Malloy, like you can just immediately say, that's that guy.
It was so bad.
Probably not a good thing.
It was so bad because all last year we were excited when we won a challenge. Like I feel like last year we rarely won challenges, and tonight we won two in a row.
We won 2 in a row. We won 2 in a row. I was so happy for him.
I wasn't even excited that we won the challenge. I was more like, how the hell did they fuck up 2 calls against us in a row?
Ah, yes. I mean, that's interesting, right? But I mean, they have had a challenge this year where it should have been overturned and they still didn't overturn it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we can just be thankful that at least when
That's
they saw
true.
the tape, they
That's-
did overturn it.
It's crazy though. It's crazy.
Yeah. Raptors Truth Teller, what did you think of the game?
Yeah, it was a great game. But to be honest, I think that Jakob Poeltl should come off the bench. I think he should come off the bench, bro, because
For who?
Maybe Otto Porter. I don't know yet.
Otto Porter can't start.
No, you can't
Minutes
start.
restriction.
Yeah, you can't
Otto.
start. Chris Boucher. Someone that could spread that floor because guys need the paint open. Dennis Schroeder needs the paint open. Scottie needs the paint open, and Siakam all need the paint open. And
I hear you, but Chris Boucher might not be what you want there.
Yeah, I know.
Dennis should come off the bench.
Like, yeah, I don't know, man.
I think it's Dennis because it's not about who starts; it's who finishes. Otto's finishing games; he's not starting.
True, that is a fact.
I don't think it matters who starts necessarily.
Has he finished every single game that he's
Jakob's
played?
never finishing.
sure.
Alex Caruso never starts. He finishes every game. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but
It's
I
the
mean,
Monage, it's the Monage
I
and
think
thing,
I think
right?
it'd be better though. Yeah.
I mean, Jakob Poeltl is not really finishing games for you, and he
Yeah.
didn't finish games for you last year either. And had you actually made the playoffs, he wouldn't finish games for you then either.
By the way, just a reminder to get everybody depressed. We traded a first-round pick for a guy who barely played in the second half, and we signed him to a 4-year deal and overpaid. Just
Okay, hang on. Can I?
It was a big
I
game
played-
for
That's
though.
not even the depressing part. Actually, you actually traded 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
One for a guy who played like 8 minutes in the second half, and one for a guy who didn't play at all.
oh
Oops.
Yeah.
Oh, there
This
goes the
wasn't a
shots.
Jakob Poeltl matchup though. Like Jakob wasn't brought in to play against teams that are going to go small. Jakob was brought in to
That's fair.
go against Evan Mobley and Jared Allen.
regardless, he's never finishing. Regardless.
Yeah, that's true. But he was
Okay.
brought in for the big matchups, like big on big. He was
I
brought in
mean,
big
I
on
just
big.
want to be clear. Like, he's not going to be able. Like, his mobility at this point is much worse than I thought. This may be one of those things where he's just ramping up. I remember rookie Jakob Poeltl. He moved his feet east-west like
He was
ballerina.
he was a
He was
stallion.
incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him get abused by Zach Collins. Okay, abused.
Mhm.
And Zach Collins is a much better player than people give him credit for. But like,
He's just more mobile. Yeah,
he is.
Yeah.
He is, and he can shoot. And I saw him get pretty much demolished by Joel Embiid. So if he can't guard Joel Embiid and he can't guard Zach Collins and
And you're
he
not
can't
spacing.
guard Nikola Jokic because no one can guard Nikola Jokic, then what the fuck are you talking about?
And you're not
And
spacing.
he can't shoot. Yeah, and he's not spacing either.
Like
So,
you,
Yeah, yeah.
So,
look,
Let's
I
do it.
like Jakob Poeltl. I do.
Mhm.
As a person, you know, as an intelligent guy on your basketball team, he presents a lot of complications for your offense. And like, there's a trade-off with him, right? He's a hub, but okay, like sometimes too much of one thing can be a bad thing. Like, so yeah, he has an advantage where he's a really good passer. Well, when I say very good passer, Domantas Sabonis is a really good passer. He is an above average center passer. He is an above average paint protector. He is an above average paint finisher. He is an above average rebounder. Those are the advantages. He is a below average spacer, and he's a much below average, let's just say, I want to say below average, but like, he's not above average in terms of lateral quickness guarding out high, you know?
You can
So
only
you
guard
have to
one
play
position.
drop with him. Right. So you have to play drop with him. And what this is really resulting in is Scottie playing a lot of center, you know, ultimately, because he's, you know, it's weird. Like, watching Scottie Barnes play basketball is a lot like, I don't know. It's a really strange thing, but the only way I could possibly parallel it to something is watching like a really, really good player play with a lot of really bad players.
Oh,
And they
buddy.
just on the playground, right? Like, I remember we used to have this player who was incredible, right? And for whatever reason, when he would play up a level, he would sometimes play with players who were a lot younger because he wanted to help us. So sometimes he would just be a rebounder. Now, he was a point guard. He was a Division I point guard, but we didn't have anyone who could rebound better than him. So he became our rebounder. And he would stand in the post, even though he was our best 3-point shooter, because it was our only chance to win. And so it's a little bit like that. You know, he's doing whatever you need him to do. You need him to set 55 picks because no one else is going to set a pick. Okay, he's going to do that because Jakob Poeltl would typically do that for you. It's kind of like last year, right? Like, before they traded for Jakob Poeltl, effectively, he was just being a screen and roller, screen and, you know, pick and pop guy who couldn't really pop. He was
Attack defender because no one else could do it.
yeah, he was doing exactly he was your point of attack guy.
He was a band-aid. He was just a Swiss Army band-aid.
Yeah, I mean, all Scottie cares about is winning at the end of the day, right? He'll take a game where he has 0 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists if they win, and he'll probably brush off a game where he has 32, 10, and 10 if they lose. He doesn't care. So that's just the epitome of the guy. And so on a game like today, where the paint is wide open, really, it was anyone's night to shine, if you want my honest opinion. If he had a bit more pop, I'm sure he could have done it. OG could have done it. You know, Siakam could have done it. Boucher could have done it. Like, really, it was just who wants to eat today? You know, paint is wide open. Derek Lively's not here. Go attack Luka. Go attack Kyrie. Go attack, you know, Derek Jones. They don't have a defender other than Grant Williams on the court. Is Tim Hardaway Jr. a defender? Really? Like, I mean, not really. So, Yeah, I mean, it's just a really compromised defense, and it kind of, really paints how much they're relying on this rookie. I mean, I've watched a couple of Maverick games so far this year. When I was making my top 25 list under 25 yesterday, Derek Lively was firmly on my list. He's a really good player, and he
fits
is
Luka
clearly
like
helping
a
them
glove.
out. Exactly. Like, he's so smart. Like the way he moves off the ball, cutting and stuff. Like, he's great. Anyways, what did you think of Pascal Siakam's game today?
Like the Milwaukee game,
He was feeding.
everything was before the defense got set. He played fast.
He
And
played
that's
fast.
how he needs to play.
Yes.
And even Scottie got him, I swear, like 10 easy points. Like early post entries on a mismatch, running in transition, bounce pass, layup, right? Like he has to play quick. It's like Barnes has to play quick. Schroeder plays quick. Like they're better playing faster, right? Where the offense
Exactly.
struggles in the half court. Even if they're not a good half court team, we just struggle,
Facts.
especially with,
Yeah.
The Milwaukee game and this game he played fast and he just he didn't think too much. Even with Gary today and Malachi, they just took their shots and they didn't think. They just played instinctually. That's what
because they were feeding. Like you have sheepdog Scottie doing his thing.
There you go.
Like literally just hurting the whole game.
Oh, if Malachi,
did you see him communicating on defense?
Yes, dude. Oh my God.
Listen,
it was so good.
Rob,
It was incredible.
I was giggling, and my wife couldn't understand why. She's like, "Why are you getting so excited about this?" I'm like, you don't understand. He's literally taking over right
he's
now.
telling Malachi and Gary where to go. Like he's saying, "Go pass to him, pass to that guy, go over there."
He's telling Boucher where to go. He's telling Siakam where to go. He's positioning Jakob. Like, my God.
He pushed Trent into a switch. He just shoved him. One play. He just pushed him. He said, "Guard him, please. Just guard him."
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally shoved him in position.
So they're okay. So I'll just. I mean, these shows are very honest. I don't want to lean negative, but I want to tell you, like the first 7 minutes of this game, I was so fucking pissed. I was so mad. It was not only the blown assignments. There were like three plays in a row. It was like one after the other. I'm going to do a film breakdown. I don't give a shit about trade value. I need people to understand this. Where Scottie has an advantage and Siakam decides to post up right in his way. It's in transition and he's just camping out in the paint. Like, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. I'm just like, how could you do this? Like, how do you not see what is happening? I mean, okay, so to anyone out there, to the 444 of you out there, I'm assuming sometime in your life you've played basketball, okay? I want you to imagine the following situation, okay? Let's say I have a step ahead of my defender, right? And I'm faster than my defender, and I have 50 feet of space in front of me, and I'm beating him down the court in transition, right? What is your job? Your job is to clear the way for me. Get your guy out of my way. But instead, not only is your guy in my way, you're in my way. You're literally like waving for the basketball. Now, I guarantee you I have a better shot at making my basket than you have at making yours because I've got a foot on my defender and I'm going downhill and I'm unstoppable downhill. But when you are there, I can't actually score. It was like another play where Schroeder does a reversal to Barnes on the left corner and Siakam was posting up on the right side of the floor and they reversed away from him. And he reinitiates the post up on the left side. They found the advantage and then they had to go to the guy. And then you just see Barnes just reluctantly pass to him and then cut away. Because it's like, bro, what do you do if someone does that? Like, it's so disruptive. It's so insanely disruptive, the way that Boucher and Siakam played today. It worked today. This is not good offensive process. It is not good offensive. You can say he had a good game.
It worked in the first half.
I'm not because against a good defense, this is gonna get clamped hard. Like
I flashed a stat yesterday. People got very upset about, but I think it's worth noting. In Pascal Siakam's career, he has shot above league average once in terms of true shooting. Once. Okay. So to anyone saying that you need to run an offense through him, you do not. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. We can say the jury is out whether you should run it through Siakam, whether you should run it through Barnes. I give the ball to the 22-year-old and just say, I'll take my chances that he's going to be a more efficient playmaker out of those situations. it's the known versus the unknown quantity. Well, we don't know if Scottie is about to shoot 32% for the rest of the year from three. We don't know that. I can't possibly tell you that he is or he isn't. He looked really shaky tonight. He was passing up shots that he would otherwise be launching. Perfectly fine. He could have done whatever he wanted tonight. He had a soft game, in my opinion. Like, he had a masterful game on one end, and then kind of like in terms of passing, defense, all that stuff. But even defense, like there were two or three mistakes that he made on defense in the first quarter. Then there was another 2 mistakes that he made in the third quarter. So he wasn't perfect on defense. He was just very impactful on defense.
Yes.
I don't know if that makes sense. Like he made, like, it's like he made 150 defensive plays, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, he made 150 defensive plays. And so if he ended up making like 15 mistakes, like, they're sticking out to me, but it's like he's covering for a lot of people not defending, right? Like, the paint was just open on the Raptors end. With Jakob not in there, the paint was just like, oh, do you room service? You want to come in here? You know? So there was a lot of leaky. When they go back and they look at the film, they're going to be like, holy shit, I have no idea how we won this game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how they won this game. I can't believe it. Like, when I was watching that game, I was like, this should probably be like a 15 to 20 point loss based on what I'm seeing. And it's just, you know, and it's not even shooting luck. You shot 31% from three. Like, I mean, I'm at a loss. I don't think I've ever been more confused about a win in my life.
Another something that came back. This has been an issue that I've been seeing when we're up. I mainly blame Dennis for this, but we just start running the clock out like we're just trying to get out of the building with a win. And there's like 3 minutes left, and it's like, can we play offense? And I remember like Scottie just took the ball from him like the last couple of possessions. He's like, we're not even playing anymore. I don't know if any of you guys noticed. We're not even playing anymore. We're just dribbling the ball up. We're up 11. We're not up 20 seconds left.
There was like one where he sort of rushed it a little bit too, and just kind of like took I think there was a 3 with like 10, 12 seconds left on the clock. And I don't think it was great. I would love to have an open discourse about advantage generation and just what you guys think this offense is lacking. It could be personnel. It could be, time. You could just tell me like, hey, I think in 10 games, this is going to look perfect. Or, okay.
There's only 2 guys.
We have you on the pessimistic end of this.
I'm not pessimistic. I think I'm realistic.
No. You could definitely call it realistic, but let's just say your realism is pessimistic.
Okay.
I think, like, honestly, when it comes to this is not an on the court thing, but it applies to on the court. Scottie's the intensity behind his will, I think, is enough to get people to see what's going on, along with proper coaching through Darko and the rest of the staff. But like I think people can buy into this mentality, and actually, because when Siakam is not thinking, he's at his most effective, right? He just needs to
on
feed.
instincts.
Yes, 100%. And like, maybe they need to like scheme around that. Maybe they need to find a way to like get him to understand how to be more aware of what's going on in the court. Because I find Siakam, for the most part, incredibly gifted, great player, but on an individual level, right?
I think that's a fair read. Yeah.
When did he do his best work? Was when he had a guy that could actually run the offense in Kawhi. Like that, hands down.
Yeah.
Well,
So go ahead. Sorry.
Rank Scrub saying, could we trade Pirtle, Siakam for Gobert, McDaniels?
We have to throw in like 3 or 4 first.
Yeah.
That's whoa. Okay, really. I don't know about 3 or 4 firsts. I am kind of curious if they have regrets about the Gobert thing, but Rudy Gobert is playing really well, and they really, really like McDaniels, and so do I.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they would go for that.
Why would they want Pirtle? Siakam, maybe. Why would they want Pirtle?
Money.
I mean, Cat played best when he was playing at the 5, and now that they cut the 4, he's really
no. That's fair, but your defense would fall off a cliff. if you took out Gobert and you replaced him with Siakam and Pirtle, unless of course they believe very highly in. Yeah, I mean, could we trade? Yes. Would they trade? I don't think so.
No.
I think McDaniels is probably scary to say, one of the best assets in that deal. You know what? I don't know how high they are on McDaniels, but they held him out of the Gobert trade. Like that was a sticking point. I think that's maybe inflated his value, like kind of like with us with Scottie. Like we won't trade Scottie. So when you just adamantly say we will not trade this player, you're kind of giving, you're giving a clue to the rest of the league how you feel about that player. However, that being said, like I don't necessarily think that means that he's like a franchise cornerstone for them. So maybe this is something worth exploring. I personally, the Rudy Gobert contract scares the living shit out of me, but I would understand why you would want to do it. Sure.
Agreed.
That's a bad trade to me, bro. That's a bad. Go ahead.
For who? For
us, man. Like us getting Rudy Gobert, he can't spread the floor, so he's going to be in the paint.
Yeah, but you're trading two guys that can't spread the floor for one guy that can't spread the floor.
That's a really good point because Jalen McDaniels is shooting like 40% from three, dude.
Yeah, you're trading
of course.
for one.
Of course, is Gobert gonna finish games?
Doesn't matter. He's a very, very good player.
25 minutes, and he's more impactful. He's a better player than Siakam.
But we did what we did tonight was because the paint was wide open.
I see the logic here. You're basically doing a 1-for-1 swap. So you're getting an upgrade on both positions, actually, if you really think about it. Because on the fit side, you're technically getting two. I don't know, man. McDaniels is a really good fit with what you're doing. He's switchable. He guards 1 through 4, 2 through 5. Like he's really
the brothers together.
One of these brothers is not like the other. Jesus Christ!
The closing lineup with Otto.
Genetics are weird, man. Genetics are really weird. Jaden is taller. Jaden is like, I mean, honestly, like just way better. Like he's one of my favorite young players in the league. And granted, I was not as familiar with Jalen McDaniels, but I had hopes for this guy in preseason. He played pretty well. I hope he'll get another run. I really hope he'll get another run. Currently practicing bass by playing along to your intro music feels good after a win, baby. Honestly, I'm just happy the Raptors moved to 500. This is great. It feels like a bit of a monkey off their back. I listened to Josh Lewinberg today compare Scottie Barnes to Andrea Bargnani. So I am just like, hey, like if we can get above 500, maybe, everyone will just calm down. Like we can just stop having this debate. Like is Scottie the next Andrea? I can't even say it with a straight face. Okay. Anyways, so my point is it's good. And also this was not, necessarily, I think honestly, every game is losable in the NBA on the road. Every game is losable. You can go to Detroit and lose. You can go into Charlotte and lose. You can go anywhere and lose. You can go to Portland, and lose. So ultimately, it's gutsy. You win 2 on the road. The Raptors were not a good road team last year. And, so far they're 500 on the road. This, kudos.
Yeah. Yep. Going back to the Siakam trade thing, not that I want to trade him, but I think if you're going to trade Siakam, you're going to trade him to a team like Indiana for Benedict Mathurin, or you're going to trade him to Sacramento.
He's been pretty bad.
Yeah, so well, he has, but I mean, you're hitting the ultimate reset. You're banking on a young asset and draft capital coming in.
Assuming they like him. Well,
I think the Raptors are more willing to give up Siakam at this point than Anunoby, and I think one of those two forwards for Indiana will do.
The analytics on Scottie and OG together are insane. Offensively, defensively, they're just such a good pairing, and they work so well off of each other, right? So much of the NBA is two-way, switching everything. I have so many lucid thoughts today about what modern offenses are trying to accomplish and what modern defenses are attempting to deal with and take away a lot. And I mean, it really does lean into how we played last year versus how we're playing this year. I think you need like 5 good decision makers on the court at all times. I feel like if you have one bad decision maker, it can almost single-handedly tank your offense. I have watched Pascal Siakam single-handedly tank a really competent defense, like 5 minutes at a time, where it's like everything's a blow by. especially when you're playing against gifted offensive teams. They will always milk the advantage. So when I think about advantage generation, right? Like I think 0.5, this motion offense needs to be explored away from read and react and more towards the thoughts of how do you generate an advantage. So the reason the Raptors run so much in transition is because why? They have long athletes and they have advantages if they run. If you can't run, then you have to find advantages within the half court. However, it's very difficult to find advantages when your players can't identify advantages quickly enough, right? So everything about 0.5, people call it a 0.5 offense. 0.5 is not an offense. It is merely a way to generate an advantage. It is like a process.
It's malleable.
Right. So within the Raptors offense, you see bits of the Princeton offense, bit of Chicago action. You're seeing horns. You're seeing like all sorts of plays being run. And everything that's being run is meant to shift the defense to create an advantage, right? You're forcing a switch, forcing a mistake. Typically, against an average defensive team, if you force them to make 3 to 4 decisions, they're probably going to make one mistake somewhere in there, right? Against a great defense, like against Philly or against Boston, you're probably going to have to, you're probably going to have to like do more. And most of the time against those really good defensive teams, you're not going to be able to find an advantage, in which case you're going to have to score the way we scored today, which is oftentimes without an advantage. You're going to have to go Scottie Barnes bully ball over, one defender or going soft over 2. You're going to have to go Siakam isolation. You're going to have to do tight clock, shot contested against, Gary Trent against the clock, Schroeder, tough contest. But like in a lot of ways, like if your offensive process works well on most nights, it should generate some easier looks for you, And so really the concept here is how do you generate an advantage when certain guys just hold on to the ball so much, right? And they're not even holding on the ball when they have an advantage. And I think that's probably a reason why this team needs to find players. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the JJ Redick podcast, but the thought process there was the pieces don't fit.
Yep.
Right? That was sort of his point. He's like, hey, when I interviewed for the job, like this was my first thought, which is, if you're using Scottie as a hub, the pieces around him need to be cutters and movement shooters. And you don't really have that here. You have a lot of people who don't do a hell of a lot without the basketball. And then when they get the basketball, they don't read the floor very well. So it's kind of you're putting your smarter players in like very precarious situation where if they don't want to lose, they have to basically like do things that the other players refuse to do, right? Which means they have to box out 2 guys. Like there was a possession where Scottie guarded 3 people on the same possession. Yep. Do you remember it? Like how are you guarding 3 people on the same possession? Like who? Like what is going on? Like you know what I mean? It's not working. And I mean, how many times did he create like a screen assist? Like there was a beautiful shot that Gary got, wide open 3 when Scottie and OG, right, set a double staggered screen for him at the top. And I was just like, yo, like that's so freaking awesome how these 2 guys just created this one shot for this one guy. And no one is going to care that they did this for him. People are just going to see 3 points Gary Trent, and it doesn't count and it doesn't matter. But like, man, if you want to win basketball games, it so matters that you have players who are willing to do this for you, because screens in the NBA on Dwight Powell and guys like this, Grant Williams, is not this. You feel it later, like setting a hard screen. It's tough on your body. It wears you down, but you have less gas on the offensive end if you keep setting screens for guys. Like you're getting beat up all night.
Hot stone massages.
Yeah. Like I'm very glad that the Raptors have a very big like pause in the schedule. Like this was like a very strange schedule for me. Like you played all these games all together. You get Philly back to back twice. Like what the hell were the schedule makers thinking? And then this week it's like, okay, we're just gonna give you the week off. You have this one game against Dallas, and then pretty much it's like Sunday to Saturday, you're coasting. I'm glad, because you know what? One thing the Raptors really need right now is practice time.
And auto playing games.
Number one, auto playing games, 100%, but like also they need practice time. Do you know in Europe, like my friend Brian, he shared this beautiful thing yesterday or 2 days ago on Instagram, and it just got me thinking. So the difference between European players and North American players is how often they play games versus how often they practice. So in Europe, you have games like once a week, right? So not only are game plans very specified to a particular team, but also you practice so much. You practice so much. You practice sets. You practice offensive philosophies. You're teaching constantly. You're teaching the game. And you're also doing a lot of skill work especially at the youth level. Here, you're just playing. AAU is a lot of playing. High school basketball, it's a lot of playing and not a lot of practicing. The NBA especially. Having a young team that is, not a young team, it's the seventh oldest roster in the league, but having a lot of young players like Precious Achiuwa, Grady Dick, etc., who are maybe struggling to find their way in the offense, you desperately need practice. And so I'm very much thinking that this could have been a really big blessing in disguise. And the idea that the Raptors are 4-4 right now, I don't even care about, Chicago and Portland. Yes, there's a part of me that's just like, they should be 6-2, man. Can you imagine the conversations we would be having about this team, given how people react to numbers, if we were 6-2 right now? They'd be like, plan the parade. It's us and Boston.
Dallas was just 6-1, and
they were 5-1.
Well, whatever.
And a lot of people had them winning too. The whole thing.
Yeah, but Dallas has also played like who?
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's look at what they've done. No, that's like the Miami Dolphins, right? Like, congratulations, you can beat bad teams.
Yeah.
Like that's not, and that's why I don't want anybody to get super hyped about this win. Right?
I think that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. You played I don't want to say you played a really bad team. You played two very good players. And I think you played a team that just did not play very connected basketball on defense at all. I don't know.
It looked like a one-man show, man. I'm sorry. Like I saw Luka doing his thing, and then the rest of the team.
Man, Luka was getting locked up by OG. Man, OG was locking up.
He scored 31 points.
Yeah, he's still ripped. Like, Luka is insane.
Right,
like,
but
insane.
He shot 11 for 26, 2 of 10 from 3. He can score 31 if he wants.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
it's just like I didn't really understand it. As soon as Kyrie met the octopus and he started having like his little oh well, shit, I can't do this tightrope act anymore.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, okay, that got one-dimensional super quick.
Okay, so I just want to say thank you to Ken Bo for this very nice super chat. Thank you so much. Just paying my dues. Thanks for the awesome content analysis as always, man. With love from China and Southeast Asia. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. So I just want to check. I had the funniest parlay today. So I had, again, not promoting betting, just throwing this out there. I had one steal for OG. I don't know if he hit it, but let's see here. Did he hit it? He did not. Done. That was the only thing that didn't hit. Everything else was perfect. It was Luka under 31.5, Kyrie over 19.5, Pascal over 17.5. So I actually was very tempted to put Pascal over 25.5 because I was like, man, he is so due for a big game. And yeah, it was really funny.
Look at Barnes. 4 steals, 2 blocks.
Yeah.
0 turnovers.
Yeah, he
+9.
You know what? Okay, so I have resented this Draymond comparison like my whole life. You know that, right? Like I hate this Draymond thing. He was Draymond tonight. This was 100.
He had a bad game. There was a comment I read. It was like, Barnes' bad games now, he's Kyle Lowry. His good games, he's Kawhi Leonard. But that's the seesaw at this point.
That's Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry did not have
Kyle Lowry staple game. He didn't shoot well, but he was the king of plus minus, and you can tell everything he's doing.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, look, if these are his bad games, he gets to the line 8 times. I mean, this is very deceptive too, right? Getting to the line 8 times, he gets like the cheapies late. So it could have been 12. He gets the 2 offensive glass. So, like, I mean, this
He
is why I
missed
say
bunnies
box.
too. He missed bunnies. He could easily score 20.
He had, like, I mean, so there were games last year where Scottie had, like, very little lift and burst. This, to me, was a game where Scottie felt very sluggish. He felt very plodding, very slow, very ground bound. It was almost like his legs didn't have juice. So that's weird. Partially because they haven't played in a couple of days, but maybe, the toll of just going nuts for the entire summer, and then now for the first, basically he's got balls out for like 11 straight games, right? So this was like the one game where I felt like, okay, the feet feel slower. He's slow on closeouts. His feet feel heavy. Did anyone else notice that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had the flu, honestly. Like, and he's still.
Was this his
like,
flu game? This was his Michael
yeah.
Jordan flu game.
Like,
I don't
dude,
know about a flu. I mean, I'm not trying to diagnose the guy, but like I wonder if that ankle is still bothering him. But it's you take out the second half against San Antonio, right? I mean, not that we should ever take it out because it was the best half of basketball I think I've ever seen him play, or frankly any Raptor play.
that's
But
two shows in a row.
I mean, it's really like two games where there hasn't been a lot of juice in his legs, right? That was the whole thing in the first half against San Antonio, and he just dialed it up. And I'm pretty sure if the Raptors were in a close game at the end, he could have dialed it up too here. Like, he probably could have gone on like a 10-0 scoring run by himself if they needed him to. But that's kind of how I feel about Scottie. He can do it when he needs to, right? But you don't need him to score 35 points every single night to be competitive. You just don't.
No.
And I know that people have this obsession with box scores because of, fantasy sports, props, etc., right? But the truth is, like, look at Victor Wembanyama's games, man. I think Victor and Scottie are like kindred spirits. Like, they remind me so much of each other. In terms, when you listen to Victor Wembanyama, like, talk about basketball, it's the same concept. It's all team first. Whatever my team needs of me, I'll do it. So I think, like, the Rockets fans, they called Jeremy Sohan a snow cone. I don't know if you remember this. When they lost the lottery, they like created this whole Twitter thing about him. So when Wembanyama became a Rocket, in honor of his teammate Jeremy Sohan, he dyed his hair like a snow cone. These are the small things that he does, to make people feel comfortable and to show how egoless he is. And luckily, like, over the last year, I've gotten to know a lot about Victor Wembanyama, like, through people that have been around him, know him. And one thing that is just always consistent, and it's just like with Scottie, is so down to earth, so humble, and that means that he'll never press. Like, he's not going to be like, I need to get my 22 tonight. I need to get my 25 tonight. Like, if Keldon Johnson has it going, Keldon Johnson's getting the ball. If Devin Vassell has it going, and these guys are not the people that, and he's so aware of it too. He's so smart, just like Scottie's really smart. He knows that he's like one of the biggest names in the world right now. He knows that his games are being broadcast to 132 countries. He knows that people are paying attention to him because he is a freak of nature. He doesn't care. It's the love of the game clause, It's like that Michael Jordan thing with Jerry Krause, the love of the game clause, right? So with Victor and Scottie, it's the same thing. It's
same mentality with Grady too, man. Like, once his speed gets there and his shot, which we know he has, I think there's a reason why he's getting his minutes, like the experimental sevens, like today.
Yeah. I of course noticed that Jordan Hawkins went off for 31 points. I was very, very big on Jordan Hawkins before the draft. I have had some time to really, really think about it, and I'm like, you know what? If I could do the redraft, I think I would have Grady higher than Jordan Hawkins. It's hard to hold on to that though right now, because I mean, Jordan's starting for the Pelicans, right? And he's putting up 31 points against the Nuggets. Not that the Nuggets are like the best defense in the league, but they're not the worst either. They're not bad at all. I would like to see Grady, just like I would like to see Scottie, with players around them that make sense.
Yeah, just
players
like
who are
JJ.
helping them. Yeah, like players that help them score. Because it's so hard to judge an offense that's so disrupted by so many players. Like, there was a stretch of basketball, I want to say in the third quarter, and then there was another one at the very end of the second quarter where I felt like Barnes really, really got it going as a playmaker. And it was just based on the players around him. You know, there was a stretch in the beginning of the second quarter where the defense really picked up. Again, it was just the players around him. You know,
Well,
so
I think you
it's
hit the nail right
Yeah.
earlier when you said you need 5 guys who can think.
I just feel bad for sometimes for like Grady and Barnes and like Otto and even OG a bit, where it's like they make a pass that's a slight advantage and then the next person needs to build on it. Or it's like if I'm Scottie and I get you a pass
right,
that puts you in a good position and
right.
you never give me a pass that puts me in a good position. Right? It's like it's tough. And
Yeah,
in terms of Grady, I feel like he needs to be a little bit more selfish
right.
in terms of like he can learn from how Gary played today, where it's like if he has some airspace, trust in your work and your ability to knock down shots and just shoot it. Flynn did
He's
that too. I think Gary hesitates too much. He's pump faking too much, right? I think he's such a good shooter.
Gary or Grady?
Grady. Sometimes he has airspace and he's pump faking, right?
Mhm.
And that's the
Yeah.
best shot we're gonna get. And
But
I
I
think
mean,
he has
but
to learn that.
I think like there like he's missed a lot of open ones too, right? Like I mean,
Yeah.
there was a couple games ago where Scottie found him open for like a couple in the corner. His place is not the corner. You know, he's like a knockdown shooter from the top, and that's kind of his place in college, and that's kind of been where he shoots from. He's being adapted to shoot from areas of the court that are not necessarily his hot zones. This is probably really good for development because he's not going to be a featured guy on offense for the next few years at the very least, and you can't really, consistently be in the center of the floor unless you're a featured guy on offense. You can't just, they have pushed for Barnes and Siakam and Anunoby to be really good above the break, right? They're trying to basically reverse. It's funny. Like you have to think about this from the perspective of like letting guys do what they're good at or letting them do things that they need to get better at and taking a few losses on the way for the sake of development because you trust that in the end of it, you'll still somehow be 500. So it would be much more effective if you just had OG in the corner and Grady up top in terms of like where they're taking their shots from historically.
When
But
they share the floor.
right. Or even Scottie in the corner. Scottie, found success from one corner last year a lot. And that's kind of where the bulk of his threes were coming. A lot of his game really fell apart above the break and, off the dribble. He was awful. So this year it's like it's flipped. He's not taking as many corner shots. There's a lot of above the break stuff. And you're like, okay, it's the same thing with implementing this offense. There will be more to this offense once the players develop, but this is a great development offense. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a coach, and he said we use this for our U16 program in Serbia. It's the same concept. It's designed to teach the game from multiple positions, right? You want everyone to be able to be a playmaker. The best teams are like this. Dennis Rodman was an underrated passer.
Oh my God, yes.
Luke Longley was an underrated passer. Tony Kukoc was an incredible passer. Jordan, like Harper, like Pippen, like shit, like every, you know what I mean?
But,
like you just can't play terrible passers because it disrupts your offense.
Yeah, but
unless they're exclusively finishers in your offense, like DeAndre Jordan. But
fair.
All our bench guys have to be finishers. I mean, Malachi Flynn, no.
But they're trying to create everyone into a at least modestly capable playmaker.
They can't. Malachi can't make a pass that isn't a simple, basic pass. I've yet to see him pass to a roller this year.
Really?
Barnes has set like I think 5 or 6 screens for him. The only pass he can make is when Barnes flares out. And then he's open for a split second. It's just.
Well, I mean, I've always kind of felt he was more like a combo guard, but
no, he's off ball. 100% he's off ball. And that's why he played so great today. Off ball.
He's off ball.
Defend like crazy. Pressure the ball. That's his role.
Yeah, that's when he's at his best, for sure.
Like you ask him to make decisions, you're asking for trouble. You ask Boucher to make decisions, you're asking for trouble. You ask Gary to make consistent decisions, you're asking for trouble. Boucher, same thing. It is what it is.
Well,
it is what it is.
An offense like this cannot work if
it
you
won't
have.
Work. That's why I said it won't work.
Right. Okay. But I mean, like, in theory, like, you look at what OKC is doing, right? I think OKC is the greatest example. OKC and Orlando are the greatest examples, in my opinion, of basketball for the future. Okay. I think San Antonio is another great example too. Actually, you have a point guard in Jeremy Sohan who can technically set a pick, like, for your center, who is a ball handler, bringing the ball up the court, who's 7'4". Like, who can deal with this? It's so disruptive, and you can flip it whenever the hell you want. You know, having that ability with versatile defenders and offensive players, being able to play make from multiple positions on the court, knowing that you can run the offense with Scottie as a ball handler at the top, or Scottie as a screener from the nail, or, you know, Scottie as a corner spacer, like, that makes it very difficult and sort of unpredictable because you can literally flip it. I think they're thinking, and I don't have any intel on this, but I think that they're thinking, you know, long-term development of these players for playoff runs, because in the playoffs you will be calling out more plays. You will be putting players in situations where you're going to flip the offense a little bit to disrupt, you know, the game plan that the other team has. Things get scouted out, things get weeded out. You can't just run spam pick and roll every single time with Jakob and Fred. You just can't do that. It would have never worked in the playoffs. I almost wish we would have made it to the playoff just so that everyone who is so hyped about it could just see it fail. It can't work. It just can't work. You need to be able to, like, do what the OKC Thunder are doing. I'm not saying there's some great team. I'm not saying they win a championship. But the idea that you could have 4 ball handlers, like Shea is setting a pick for Chet Holmgren, who's coming off the screen and hitting a 3. Like, what world am I living in? This is such a weird thing, you know? And it's like, you need to find these types of players. You need to find them, and you need to develop them, and you need to make them playmakers. You need to make them playmakers. You need to, you know, somehow get Precious Achiuwa and Christian Koloko into your system and get Darko to work with them. Get him to teach them the game, teach them how to run, you know. Like, I would be very excited, you know, if Christian Koloko can come back and he can be kind of like a post hub, you know, or like a short roll, like lob target. Like, we don't have those. Like, we don't have a guy who just darts the basket. Could really unlock.
I can see Koloko. I can see Koloko.
He's a really good passer too. He's really smart too, and he can shoot. Like, but it's like Precious. Like, what if you could actually teach Precious how to be a playmaker? Do you know what I mean? Like, what if you could transfer some of the mental gifts of a Kyle Anderson into a Precious Achiuwa just by teaching him the game? Do you believe that that's even remotely possible at this point?
Don't you need a base to start with? If you don't have a foundation to build on, I mean, it's just information sinking into the abyss. There's no foundation. There's no floor. There's no floor.
Lane, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think it almost comes down to who someone is as a player. That's why I'm so high on Grady. Even though his shot's not falling right now, he makes the right play. And there's always room for development. Every single sport you could ever think of, there's always room for development. Scoring, you know, or hitting a baseball, whatever, right? You're making the right play, making the right read, you know. So that's why I'm so high on Grady. Obviously, that's why I'm high on Scottie. You know, guys like Precious, Boucher, they don't make the right read. You know, they're relying on athleticism to get them by. They're relying on how gifted they are to get them by. And it's a scary sight if those guys did have those smarts. It'd be freaking terrifying. Imagine Boucher with Scottie's IQ.
Oh my God.
Terrifying.
Boucher
With Scottie's IQ. That's terrifying.
That's terrifying to know, like, how you got Chris Boucher to agree to brain surgery. Like, what he's 29, he's 29 years old. Like,
but that's my point. I mean,
like, but I mean, like, I've always believed that, like, at a very young age, like when the brain is still expanding, like for me at least, it was a lot easier to learn things when I was younger. I mean, honestly, it's even easy. Okay, so this may be a little bit off topic from the basketball thing, but I think it's possible to learn at any age. You know,
absolutely.
And I think one of the things that I have found to be very true is that people often don't learn because they try to learn in a very linear way, or they dream or set goals in a very linear way. So they say, okay, well, I make $100,000 a year this year, so I'm going to aim for 115 next year. The number of 115 was just determined by your brain saying, well, that seems like a reasonable enough jump from 100 to appease, whatever idea I have in my head of progress. But I mean, that's not even taking into account why you feel that's progress, whether or not you should be making 100,000 right now to begin with. I mean, what if, 115 is out of your grasp? What if 20 million should be your goal? But then when you say 20 million out loud, it just seems kind of insane, right? So it's kind of like you've got to disassociate with your concept of who you are as a player. And I think as a coach, like you have to kind of like not look at Precious Achiuwa as a low IQ basketball player. I think you almost have to try and treat him like a blank slate and try to teach this and teach it to him from a perspective of somebody that you believe can actually learn your offense. Because from what I've heard, he's a smart guy.
Yeah. Oh, if you hear him talk the game of basketball, he's a smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. It's just when he hops on the court, it's a different story. I do appreciate Darko for looking at everybody like it's a blank slate, it's a blank canvas. Like he's even talking about like Dennis Schroeder can improve, and he has been improving from what he has been in past years, right? I appreciate him for that. But I think this is where you have to give Nick Nurse some credit, because Precious Achiuwa played the best basketball of his career to this point when he was being used as a dummy and the fifth man on the court, lob threat. He was being used. He wasn't being used as a help defender. He's being used as a point of attack defender. This year, he's being used more as a help defender, and you could see like those top 5 defensive player in the league talks have kind of died. Granted, he hasn't played in like a week, but I mean, like he was absolutely abysmal the first 4 games of the season on defense.
Is it possible that given the extreme focus on developmental staff, I've always heard from people who work closely in these situations that every team kind of just has priced out in their head development dollars. So it's like if you have a staff of 10 and you have 15 players, you're kind of just thinking to yourself, who are we devoting our time to today? And this hour and this hour, what are we using this program for? What are we using this training for? And so if you have a couple of people who are just devoted to basically teaching Precious Achiuwa, breaking down film, going through, read and react situations with him and just kind of trying to teach him the game from different places on the court, is it possible that this week off might have been the biggest blessing in disguise and that we might see an incredible jump from him the next time he plays? Because I'm kind of like, I don't want to hold my breath here, but I have a feeling he just might be that. I can't get myself off the idea that I think he can figure this out.
I wouldn't.
I agree, but I think this comes from.
I'm saying if you look at it, but I agree. But the problem here is this: you can't teach Precious this and Boucher and Flynn and Gary. Like Precious, I get the fascination with him, and I was high on him too. But you can't teach 5, 6 guys on your roster who you're trying to put in the rotation the game at the same time. Like 1 to 2, sure. There's just too many.
Right.
There's just too many.
This is good.
I mean, I think, okay, like if Malachi is the dummy, the prototype, right? I think over 20 games, I said like I want to wait 20 games to judge this offense. I'm very happy we're 4-4. I expected us to be 500 after 20 games. So we are on track to do that. I mean, granted, probably a loss against Boston, but hey, we can beat them. Let's see. If we beat Boston, oh my God.
They're on a back-to-back. And
give me that in a row. Give me Hauser. Give me Peyton Pritchard. Give me old man Al Horford. Give me that bench, and we're going to go to work. I'm telling you, that is why Boston's going to get second rounded this year. I have them out in the second round because that bench is abysmal. They have to play Tatum, Brown. They have to play Porzingis, who's a broken record. They have to play all these guys at least 42 to 45 minutes tonight in the playoffs to be successful. It's not going to work out unless they go make a big trade at the trade deadline to bring in some bench pieces. Boston's
Right.
not that good in my opinion. I think they're a great
Who does
regular
Milwaukee
season.
have besides
Who's
their top
better
3
than
or
them?
4?
Who's
They were
better
the
than
la-
Boston? Like, who would you take over Boston right now?
Philly in a heartbeat.
Wow, in a heartbeat.
In
The
a heartbeat.
notorious chokers in the
Nick
second
Nurse.
round.
That's that team
Well,
humming.
yeah.
the
Wait
team that
until
never
Embiid.
made it
Wait,
Wait
out
until
of the
did
Embiid.
you and I just not go through an entire thing about small sample size on Twitter?
We did, but I love Nick Nurse. I love what he's doing right now.
Oh no,
No. Okay.
banned,
I love him as
banned
a
for
coach. I love him
life,
as a coach. I love
Are
him as
you
a
gonna
coach.
enjoy
I love him
seeing
as a coach.
Embiid run into the ground?
bro.
And-
Honestly, Lane, at this point, here's what I want to happen. Okay, all right, this is what I desperately want to happen. I want the Philadelphia 76ers to get the number 1 seed. I want the Raptors to be a play-in team. I want them to fight tooth and nail.
You
Somehow
want us to
find
do what Miami did to Milwaukee?
no. I want us to stomp them, force it,
And Scottie to go off.
and for Scottie to like score 40 points and like and probably like in the 4th game or something, maybe like step on Joel Embiid's foot. My point is like and then just like ghost Nick Nurse in the congratulations line, just like
Decline the friend request.
nice to see you. Nice to see him, I guess.
Yeah.
see Scott
look,
He's a
man, like,
good head coach. I appreciate what he's doing right now in Philly. Like you see the difference between Doc Rivers and Nick Nurse already.
bro, Doc Rivers is honestly one of the worst coaches ever.
Okay,
I don't understand
guys.
how yes, you went up, congratulations, but
They
like
always win 50-something games and are a top 3 seed. I mean, every year.
I mean,
They
in
beat the brakes off the first
Lane's defense, like they are using Embiid in a completely different way than they have in previous years.
They are, and they're
Harden
using.
not being there kind of helps.
Agreed.
They've made him a better playmaker. They
Harris
have
is playing
really
better.
figured out
Unlocked.
the addition
Harris
by
is, like,
subtraction.
greatly improved.
Dude, Tobias Harris is not being used as Trevor Ariza anymore. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Like they're not just parking him in the corner and saying, "Okay, hit, catch, and shoot threes." Like Tobias Harris is like that
Like
kind
Nick
of.
Nurse is
like the
doing
second
a
PJ
good job
Tucker.
there.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
The thing I worry about, like I worried about for our Raptors, is you're gonna see an Embiid that's like completely juiced going in, like, and I'm not talking juiced in a good way. I'm talking squeezed. Because
I don't think he has to do that this year, though. I think he has the depth. I
Billy
think
has a bench.
yeah, they do.
I mean, they have Paul Reed,
Okay.
and now they have Robert Covington, and but they lost PJ Tucker. I don't know. I mean, they have
look at game
they have
logs.
some stuff, and they got some 1st-round picks, and I strongly suspect that they're going to make a very, very strong run at O.G Anunoby in the offseason. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think Nick Nurse overplaying starters last year was more or less a big fuck you to the front office, in my opinion. They let too much walk. Like
hold on. In fairness, would you agree that over the last 3 to 4 games that Malachi Flynn has probably exceeded my and possibly your wildest expectations?
Oh, for sure. But
this guy was on your bench last year.
But even last year with playing time, do you think he would have done that in Nick Nurse's offense, the ISO heavy offense, because he just did not care? Like Nick Nurse gave up. He gave up in December last year. Like his post-game press conferences, you could see it. In April, he was talking about, well, I don't know, I'm going to take the summer to reevaluate. Like he gave up on this team. It was evident.
But that doesn't excuse like 3 years of lack of development. That's half a season. Okay.
Yeah.
Like we can.
I agree,
even if you say he checked out a training camp last year. Like, first of all, like
into the ground multiple years. It wasn't just last year. Last year, you can say we had no bench. What about his first couple of years?
Like Nick Nurse, I defended Nick Nurse up until December, January. I started to fade on him around February, and then when I faded on him, it suddenly clicked for me how things had happened. I heard some stuff. And obviously, I've also, been able to piece 2 and 2 together, like who was necessarily in guys' ears saying, hunt for your next contract. This is how you're going to get paid. This is a very, very short-term motivating tool, okay? This is a great motivation tool. It is low-hanging fruit, however. Like, consider this, okay? Let's say you have a boss. You have 2 bosses, right? And I mean, coach is like a boss. One boss comes in and he says, I'm going to give you like every opportunity to triple your income this year. And I'm going to give you the guidebook on how to do it. Right. And he's dangling a carrot. Like, it's just like with Tyrese Maxey. I'm sure the pitch to him was not dissimilar from the pitch than the pitch was to Pascal Siakam, which is, how do we get you from All-Star to All-NBA? He's on record saying things like this. Now, I understand that this is a part of the league, this individual, thing, but when you have a guy whose like goal is stated as, I want to get my player to All-NBA, you're going to play a certain way. You really are, right? I mean, if you ever wanted to know that the Sixers were not going to win a championship last year, Joel Embiid's goal to win an MVP and James Harden's goal to get him an MVP should have told you that they were not going to win the championship.
Yeah.
I always believe that if you are trying to aim in two directions, you end up nowhere. You cannot win championships if you're aiming at MVPs. I mean, yeah, unless you're Michael Jordan, maybe. But even Michael Jordan was not really aiming at MVPs.
No.
He was aiming at championships.
Yeah.
Like, you have to aim for championships. Like, I know that sounds somewhat silly, and maybe it's not making complete sense, but I just believe that motivating people on a very individual level in a team game has short-term returns.
Yeah, like, why are you here? Why are you playing this game?
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, Darko is teaching the game, and it's probably like a way different and probably way harder sales pitch, right? We're going to teach you the game, and we're going to teach you how to get equal opportunity offense, and your numbers are going to look worse. Like, who the hell is down for that? This is why European coaches don't last in the NBA. It's a really hard thing to sell players on. You need a lot of guys who buy into the team concept. And to be completely frank, most people don't. Most people won't.
Here's why it's going to work for Darko, though. He's personable. There's a lot of these coaches, especially the European ones, where the culture change is just so different. It's like, yes, we both understand basketball, but like they don't communicate with their players. I mean, even Nick Nurse did not communicate with his players. Darko sitting around at practice with these guys, I guarantee you he eats with them. He's always talking to them. Like, it's very personable. It's one-on-one. That's how he's gotten all these guys to buy in. Like,
it's a family.
In post games, I mean, even the nights where Siakam or Gary would have bad nights, like, it's all about the team. It's all about how they can get better, right?
Yeah.
Past years, they wouldn't even talk to media post game if you have a bad night. Like it's like, okay, for example, Fred VanVleet last year, he'd have a bad night. Was he talking to the media that night? Hell no. But when he had that 2020 night, I think he sat there for like 40 minutes talking to media. This year they're always
actually.
I mean, they're always talking. I think he has everybody bought in. I think he's a damn good coach developmentally wise, because he preaches me. For what I do, he preaches what I do. You know what I mean? Like, I see myself in him in a different, like, obviously me baseball, him basketball. Like, I see myself in him, right? I really appreciate what he does.
Darko.
I think he's going to be the one to last out of a lot of all these European coaches, because he is personable. He understands.
There aren't that many European coaches in the NBA.
No.
I mean, there really have only been two.
But
technically, I mean, David Blatt is not European. So, like,
I mean, you look at all the coaches that get fired year in and year out, like, the horror stories that come out in these podcasts about them is crazy. And then the ones that stick around for so long, like Popovich and Steve Kerr, like, yeah, sure, their teams are super successful. Spoelstra, yeah, sure, their teams are super successful, but they're also like very personable human beings. Like, Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra have disagreements on the court all the time, yet they're brothers.
Right.
Like, they love each other. They go to war for each other. They'd fight for each other. Like,
it's the relationship between the best player and the coach. And that coach can coach the best player as hard as the rest. They have that relationship.
I feel like Darko coach
Greg Popovich thing doesn't necessarily, it's not as easy to do as people think. You need to have like a lot of stability behind you. You need to have organizational, buy-in and commitment to this.
Nurse had that. And then no, he did. And it just went bad.
Yeah.
It got real ugly last year. Like, last year was so unacceptable. There's no way the front office was like, we're firing Nurse after this year, going into last season. There's no way. In a million years, you could have told them that. After 48 wins, Scottie wins Rookie of the Year, right? Fred makes the All-Star. Pascal makes his second All-NBA. There's no way. But last year was so bad.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot behind the scenes that we didn't see, though. I think he bumped heads a lot with the front office. Like, there was a lot of leaks coming out that he was pissed off at the asset management. I mean, you got to think back. You lost Marc Gasol for nothing. You lost Serge Ibaka for nothing. You lost Kawhi Leonard for nothing. Like, you lost a lot of damn good players at the time.
Hold on. No. I mean, Serge Ibaka has not been a starter since he left.
No, but he averaged.
Was not really a rotation player when he left.
They were
Marc Gasol was absolutely
whoa.
washed after he left. What are we
Serge
talking
Ibaka
about?
wasn't a rotation player when he left. He averaged
After he left.
After he left, yeah. But the year he left, he was averaging 15 points a game that year.
Hold on. Smart asset management is retaining assets at a fair price.
Yeah, right. And he would have done the same in this offense. The Clippers, I mean, he was what, sixth man here that 1920 year. You know,
do understand that age is a thing. Like players do fall off at a certain point. Like Marc Gasol is not going to be. He's not going to turn back the hands of time here. He was pretty washed by the time he left.
Right, but
Kyle Lowry was washed. I mean, shit. If you want any evidence, do you believe? Okay, here's a question for you. Marc Gasol signed with the Lakers for half of pretty much like what we probably would have offered him had he stayed, because of course taxes, market, weather, etc. We often have to overpay our agents. Plus, of course, you have the championship legacy here. Do you think the Lakers felt like they got really great value on Marc Gasol? Do you feel like the Miami? Okay, we would have paid him twice as much because he was a championship tenor. Do you feel that the Lakers got solid value on Danny Green?
I do.
That the Lakers, yes.
And they paid him $17 million, right?
They won a championship.
Yeah, yes, they won a championship.
It's a bubble championship. Okay, yeah,
fine.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the Miami Heat got solid value on Kyle Lowry at $30+ million a year?
For 30, no, but Kyle
for
Lowry,
3 years. So that's it's 90. It's almost $90 million. And I would argue, based between injuries, out of shape, aging stuff, I think they've probably gotten a third of that value back.
He almost had a triple-double today. I know. I'm just saying.
Well, we got Precious Achua to show for all those guys.
Yeah, I
mean,
if
I pull up Kyle's like analytical profile, I guarantee you his entire career fell off a cliff like the year he left.
Exactly. That's my point, though. Is like
the only player you lost that was like really good was Kawhi.
Right, but these guys aren't being used on their new teams the same way they were being used here. Like, okay, who says Serge Ibaka's downfall?
I'm not talking raw points. I'm talking impact. They're still starters. They're still being used in a similar way. I mean, shit. Okay, Kyle's last year with the Raptors, he was a 2 box plus minus. No, sorry. He was a 1.6 box plus minus. First year with Miami, he was a 2. So, okay. He had a relatively similar season on better efficiency with Miami. He shot 60% true shooting. The very next year, he plays 55 games. He's 0.2. This year, he's negative 2.0. I promise you, they did not pay for that. So the Miami Heat have basically gotten, let's see, like put it in some win shares. Kyle's best season with us when we were paying him, in his prime, 2015, 2016, 2016, 2017, double-digit win share years. So like 11 win shares, 10 win shares, 10 win shares. He has given the Miami Heat in 3 years a combined less than 10 win shares. To give you an idea of just how drastic the fall off is. And that's not just playing fewer games. That's just being less good at basketball.
I think his BPM is going to go up this year, though, as the season goes on. Because like you could check Jimmy Butler's BPM right now, and I guarantee you it's in the negatives too. He's had a really bad start to the year, and they just barely beat a team tonight that had like only 10 players available.
Mm-hmm.
Guarantee Tyler Hero went out in the first quarter, but that's besides the point.
Jimmy Butler's box plus minus is positive 2.3. So your guarantee is as good as Charles Barkley's guaranteed, which is
really?
Yes, it is positive 2.3. The negatives are Caleb Martin, Josh Richardson, Thomas Bryant, Jaime Jaquez, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Hayward Highsmith, Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo is a slight negative, and Tyler Hero is just positive.
What's Jimmy Butler's true shooting?
Who?
Jimmy Butler. What's his true shooting this year?
56%.
Really? It's that high?
56.5.
What's his free throw?
Okay, are you saying high because you saw Pascal Siakam's true shooting percentage?
No.
Like, is your barometer for like efficient shooting Pascal Siakam?
No.
Everyone's high.
No, I have a friend who's a Heat fan, so I always check their box scores, and it seems like he's always like 5 for 13, 7 for 22. So I mean,
he probably just had like one game where he was like 12 for 14 or something. It just skews the averages. But yeah. Anyways, I am clearly very tired. I spent the entire night editing together that video. I don't know if you guys saw it. Did any of you see it? The one on Scottie.
Yes.
Did you like it?
Love. I'm actually rewatching it because I like to. Oh, I watch a lot of tape.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to kind of etch my thoughts down on it. Sometimes I look back on these videos and I'm just like, what did I see? It's a good way to gauge. This is why I did draft videos. This is why I did draft. I literally just went back and I listened to what I said about Asar Thompson, at the like 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago. And I'm just like, oh my God, what the fuck am I talking about? This guy's great. And I'm like, I wonder how much of that I captured in my draft analysis of him. What was the gap? How do I miss it? How do I get better next year? This is how we go. So yeah, sometimes these videos are just, it's like a diary, it's like an online diary.
It's just like the spillage of the thoughts going on, and it was enjoyable. James Gatz in chat is asking if he can join.
Sure. James Gatz, what's up? And James Gatz is gone.
Sorry.
Okay. Anyways, yeah. Oh, Ghostface. Oh, we got Ghostface. Ghostface, what's up, man? Hello?
Am I in?
You are in, and I love your picture of
so good.
the Scottie DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, I had to put that in.
I pretty much started disliking DeAndre Ayton the second Scottie did that. I have relentlessly hated that. Like, I've been hating on DeAndre Ayton like nonstop for absolutely no reason other than that moment.
He's not a bad guy. Feel kind of bad for him.
Dominating.
Yeah, it's a crazy nickname.
Can't undo that. What you think of the game, man?
I don't think offensively is anything to be excited for. I think
you're telling me
Siakam's points were Mickey. Yeah, they were all Mickey points.
Mickey points? What does that mean?
Yeah, it means like how they call the bubble ring, Mickey Mouse ring. It was all Mickey points.
You're not rating it. I thought they were hard. Some of the shots were hard, but they went in. Some of the shots were out of like good process. I don't know. It was a mixed bag. I would have to look back. I don't really care to his offense. Like, his offense was not bad tonight, nor was it great. Like, I think the numbers are a little bit misleading. I'm more like, I hated his defense so much in the beginning that I'm just like, I have like an aneurysm. Just like I just have a bit of a headache just from that, and I want to go back and I really, really, really want to look at the tape from tonight. Like, I absolutely desperately need to look at the tape from tonight just to see, like, am I blind? Was I, not paying attention? I also ate 7 brownies while the game was happening.
Yeah.
Random side note, I don't know why I ate 7 brownies. It was like stress eating through it. I'm just like, oh man, please don't choke this game. Please don't choke this game. But they led almost wire to wire.
I think the defense carried us tonight, right? I think you kind of have to talk about this game in a duo, like this game and last game. Mm-hmm. So I think in the first half of last game, our defense was pretty bad. There was no rotations, no anything. And then,
did you see the defense in the first quarter?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't good at all.
Okay, right. So so what are we talking about here? The defense, like towards the end of the game, towards the second half. I think it picked up in the second quarter a little bit, but that 11-0 run was like the body language on this. It's, oh my God. Look, teams blow defensive coverages, okay? But every time you have a guy looking at another guy saying, what's happening?
It was mainly Pascal. It was in last game too. Pascal, his closeouts were really bad, right? His rotation, it wasn't
rotating.
There. Yeah,
he's not rotating. Like, I'm just, I'm struggling to understand this because I've been harping on his defense all year. It's been bad all year. But then he'll
Right.
come out and he'll exert this crazy amount of energy on like one play or two plays where he'll either like get a steal or he'll tip it away or, but I mean, like, I'm
Just like Russell
always
Westbrook in
thinking
the regular
advantage.
season.
Hmm?
I was like, just like Russell Westbrook in the regular season, he kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, last year I watched a lot of Portland Trailblazers. Don't ask me why. I was very curious about Shaden Sharp. I watched a lot of young players last year just to see like how these rookies were forming. So that means I watched Ben Mather and whatever. So I watched a lot of Shaden Sharp, and in the process of watching Shaden Sharp, I became very familiar with Anthony Simons and a lot of Damian Lillard and Jeremy Grant and just the Portland Trailblazers in general. And I just remember thinking to myself how like almost every quarter I would just get so mad at Anthony Simons. And I just like I swore off this guy as a player completely because I just couldn't stand how often there would be a guy who's wide open and he's like right there and he just lets him walk past him into the paint and like draw a foul on his team. And I'm just like, yo, like if this person's my teammate, we're scrapping. Like we are
Well, his
fully
coach doesn't hold
scrapping.
him accountable. Like Chauncey Billups, in my opinion, is one of the worst coaches in the NBA. So it boils down to that.
That's sad.
But
He was one of my favorite players, but I agree with you.
yeah,
He's
so
been
is Steve Nash, right? It is a weird tandem. But my thing is, with our defense, right? Our rotations they weren't that good at first. The communication wasn't there, but similarly in the
I think Scotty and like really, really I think we were talking about it
quarterback,
earlier before you exactly.
Yeah.
He
yeah,
quarterbacks so much of that defense in the back line. Like, I mean, he's communicating like everything. It's almost like okay, so like Scotty versus Luca was like the weirdest chess match ever, right? And one
right.
of them just decided, I'm going to be all offense. And the other one decided, oh, really? Okay, I'm going to be all defense. And we're just going to see who can outthink this game first. And I think that this is probably going to be the subject of my next video if I can just like manage to get some sleep tonight.
4D chess.
Scotty versus Luca, like the two of the smartest 22, 23-year-olds in the NBA. And it's just like, just breaking down play by play, like how many times these guys exploited a mistake by the other side. And so Luca is exploiting mistakes in the defense, and Scotty, of course, is exploiting mistakes in the offense. Like it was so
Right.
interesting to watch how smart these two players are.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was
And that's the
really
thing.
fun to watch.
That's true. When Scotty went on that run in the Spurs game in the second half, it also translated to defense. I don't know if it was just energy seeing him, but when him, Malachi, and Gary, they all play together, like the defense, like Malachi and Gary put in so much more effort when Scotty's there. I don't know if it's because of call-outs, if it's just seeing him. And it happened again this game.
He
Like,
helps them a lot too. Like he
barks
calls
at
out
them if they don't do
screens.
shit.
He guides them. He'll I think like he's very encouraging with them. I don't know if he has like a great relationship with Malachi off the court. I have no idea. But like for whatever
him
reason,
and Gary have chemistry, for sure.
he and Gary have great chemistry for sure. He and OG have great chemistry. He and Otto have great chemistry. Him and Koloko
I think
have
they get
great
along
chemistry.
because there was that missed 5 on the court, and Scotty made sure he got it. Like he went out, put his hand, and Malachi was already past him. And there was in the San Antonio game when he postered Sohan. You pointed out, I think you tweeted something about how Otto was like flexing on he was just doing like the Hulk move.
Yeah.
If you see the wide angle on that, Malachi is just above he's outside the arc.
Yeah.
And he's flexing too. And it was like they're all just happy for one another.
Absolutely. I mean, if you ever
Jerry
want to
seems
know
sad,
the
though.
relationship between two players, it's usually in how they communicate a bad play to each other, like how they communicate on a mistake. So, like typically when two teammates have like a really bad relationship, there's either no communication after a bad play. Like, for instance, like I pass you the ball, you cut the other way, and I throw the ball out of bounds. Like I'm just gonna go the other way. Like it's just I don't want to fuck with you. I don't want to talk to you. I've tried to explain this to you before. We're done. Typically when I see teammates, like when I see teammates that are like in really good sync, there's usually like a bit of a smile after a bad play. Like today, Scottie throws the alley-oop to Otto like he's Vince Carter in his prime, and it's such a mistake. He also threw like a crazy freaking like full court pass to Pascal, which somehow Pascal got and converted. Scottie's passing has been pretty off target so far this year. Like I'm not used to him being this off target like this often, but like this is like I don't know, like
he's also doing different stuff.
He is doing different stuff. He's trying different stuff. It's a different offense. The offense requires a lot more movement. There's a lot more chess pieces. So hopefully they'll figure it out soon. But like his passes have not been super crisp early this year, and they've resulted in turnovers. Like both passes that I just described could have easily resulted in turnovers, very easily, instead of fouls and made baskets. So, anyways, I like that he sees things. I like that he tries things, but he needs to be a little bit more on target. And also, Scottie wasn't very much on the ball today. It was a lot of Pascal. It was a lot of Dennis Schroeder, and it was a lot of Scottie setting picks. And that's fine. I think he did well. Someone said he pretty much was Draymond. I've said he was pretty much Draymond today. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It is quite a unicorn player, though, that you could have like a performance where he's like basically prime KD, in the second half of the last game, and now he can settle into Draymond. You know what I mean? Like,
watch the video. Everyone listening, watch the video. It's good.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
And also hit the like button. What the hell? There's like how many people in chat right now? There's like 101 likes.
Thank you, John. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Any final words here? I am actually like I'm realizing as I'm talking, like I'm gonna look back on this tomorrow and be like, wow, you did this live on like no sleep in 29 hours. What were you thinking? Like, I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if I look like my eyes are closing. I probably look terrible, but like, I'm just like, man, I thought about pushing it off to tomorrow. I thought about pushing it off to this morning, but I was like, you know what? We just beat the Dallas Mavericks. You're not breaking your streak of post-game lives. So you're going to do this.
Yeah, and you got a break coming up, so
yes, I do. But I really want to do this Luka Scottie video because I just think like how they manipulate gaps and stuff, like how they like some of the shots like that Luka got were so easy. Yeah. Like they were so easy. Like everything's so easy for him. Like it's so interesting. If you ever want to compare like two first options, if you want to call them all-star, all-NBA guys, look at how tough things are for certain players and look at how easy things are for certain players. Like Luka's 31 were so easy.
Yeah,
like,
he didn't
break a sweat.
No, like
he's guarded by O.G Anunoby and Scottie Barnes, and like there was one play where he was guarded by O.G and Pascal and Scottie, and he got a freaking layup out of it.
Yep.
Like
he
sliced in a way like stop this guy.
It looked like he was dancing casually. Just like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, you're just playing some ball. Like,
it's unbelievable.
There's nothing.
There's such a, like, he's so on balance all the time. Like, the play where, he just waits for the guy to just go past him and he just, like, jumps into him. Like, he is truly seeing the game on a completely different wavelength as everybody else. And I think, like, Scottie was just sort of stepping back and just sort of observing. And, yeah. Like and Scottie was doing the same thing on defense. It's so interesting. I think I think this will be like a really interesting film breakdown. I previously thought about just doing the film breakdown as like, this is how bad Pascal Siakam's first 7 minutes were, but I think that'll just become very negative and kind of just not help anybody. And why not just let him have like a really good game? Like, it's the pressure's off him for one game, probably not anybody chirping him on Twitter or whatever, like, yo, bum, like whatever. So, if people think that he had a great game, great. I think he had his second best game of the season, which is good.
We could only build off of that too. We could only build from this.
Yeah, I mean, there were some like really good parts where like it was early, as Coach Mo said earlier, it was like he attacked earlier in the offense. There were some players where he didn't, but then there were like some parts where I'm like, oh, it could work. Like it totally could work. Nobody's saying that you should not attack Kyrie Irving one-on-one in the post. Of course you should attack Kyrie Irving one-on-one in the post. You'd be ridiculous not to. No one is saying you shouldn't attack Luka downhill. Of course you should. You should attack in transition. These are all things that you should do at all times. And that's exactly how you generate advantages, by collapsing and bringing 2 to the ball, 3 to the ball. You just have to be smart once you do it. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, final notes. Any final thoughts, takeaways? Probably gonna end this up, and then I just wanted to say that I did my first Twitter space the other day for 28 people at 2:30 in the morning. Seems kind of cool. People always complain that these videos are very long and difficult to listen to or watch the next morning because sometimes they go to 3 hours. So I just wanted to ask you guys if, with your final thoughts, if you wanted to give me your opinion on this. But I was thinking to try and cap these shows off at about an hour and change, maybe, to keep them kind of condensed, give my thoughts, do a little bit of, analysis, do one conversation, kind of like what we did today, and then just hop over to Twitter Spaces and have like a very different type of conversation over there. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, I'm a long media consumption guy, but I get why people like. I listen to 3.5 hour long podcasts on a regular basis.
Oh my god! But any podcasts you would suggest? Free promo for them, I guess. But yeah,
it mostly revolves around football and video games. So
okay,
I listen to a lot.
Well, I'll give a shout out to the Pivot Pod while we're on the subject of podcasts. Go check out the Pivot if you have not checked out the Pivot. Just a great human on human athlete experience. It's awesome. A lot of football, a lot of basketball. Fred VanVleet was on the Pivot, if you want, an NBA player, but Kwame Brown was also on the Pivot. There have been NBA athletes on the Pivot. So yeah. Lane, any final thoughts, man?
Yeah, like I said earlier, and like we were talking about earlier about small sample size. I think this game, I can kind of boil it down to the law of averages. Everything's going to average out. Obviously, it's very, very evident Scottie took a huge jump this year, right? I don't think the jump is as big as we've seen so far. I think it will be in next year, the year after, right? Also, it's very obvious that maybe Pascal has regressed a little bit this year, but I don't think he's regressed to the point that we've seen so far.
Right.
You see tonight, like the law of averages, like the stats are going to look a lot better for Pascal after tonight. They're going to look a little bit worse for Barnes.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
In the efficiency,
they're really not.
In the efficiency percentages, a little bit, right? Gary's are going to look.
Dude, they're not. You're not understanding how box plus minus is calculated, and this is
I'm not talking about PPM. I'm talking about like true shooting, field goal percentage, all that.
But regardless of how true shooting and field goal percentage are calculated, the overall impact metric that we're talking about, whether we're talking about Darko, LeBron, is measuring impact beyond the box score. So really, when you look at a game like Scottie's, look, to anyone out there who is curious about this stuff, load, creation, usage are usually inversely related with efficiency and turnovers. The theory goes that the more you handle the ball, the more decisions you make in your offense, the more shots you take, the more shots you're going to miss, the more turnovers you're going to have, and the more you're generally going to be less efficient with your shot making. And so typically we extend a bit of courtesy to younger ascending alpha playmakers like Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, etc., for being inefficient in the hopes that they will become more efficient with age. Now, if they don't become more efficient with age, we call it a bad bet. So for Scottie Barnes to take a 6 to 7% jump in usage and to even maintain his true shooting from last year would be a jump of historic proportions for his analytics. Just an FYI. Because when you consider what would come with that usage, it would be more assists, more points, more, a lot of stuff. He's a good offensive rebounder, so maybe it's more offensive rebounds too. When you consider that, now for every single thing you do on the box score or on the court that's good, there's usually something that you can do that's bad. So like every action, you think about it, like when you go for a steal, like when you dive into the passing lane, you also potentially could give a complete blow by, right? When you set a screen, you could also commit an offensive foul. When you take a shot, you could also miss a shot. When you make a pass, you could also commit a turnover. So there's almost like what I'm saying is that whatever Scottie screwed up, you can call it screwed up in terms of missing some shots today and having like a lower point volume, he made up for by taking fewer shots. Whatever he didn't get for you in terms of, whatever else you would have wanted from him. Threes. Let's say threes are good, right? But he got 7 assists and no turnovers. Let's say, you're not happy with something else on his box score. Well, he got 2 steals and 4 blocks. Do you know what I mean? And he got 7 assists. Like, these are the types of things that boost your analytics.
Yeah, I think
there's actually a chance that his box plus minus goes I'm not going to say it went up after today, but it barely dips. And there's also a chance that Pascal Siakam is still negative. So when you talk about so to anyone who's missing the context of this conversation, Lane basically said 2 good games for Siakam, and it could flip, and or like his numbers could look way better, and 2 bad games for Barnes, and his numbers could look way worse. And my argument was, and I said, I would bet you $100 to 1 that after 2 games, regardless of what happens, that Scottie's analytics are going to be way better than Siakam's.
I would agree with that. I would agree. I think that was my point. I think my point was just the sample size overall. Like if we're talking 25, 30 games into the season and the numbers are still this way where Pascal's -2 and Scottie's +8, then yeah, I would largely agree with you that this is who they are for this year, right? But I think 7 games in, it's a little bit too premature to be like, okay, well, Scottie's going to be a +8 all year and Pascal's going to be a -2.
I don't think that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that even if Scottie is a 3 and Pascal is a 2, your decision has been made in terms of who you should put this off. Okay, Ashley, let me make it easier for you. Let's say that Scottie's a 3 and Pascal's a 4. Let's say this completely flips. Somehow Pascal goes on a 5-week scoring tear and Scottie falls off a cliff. And at the end of it, Scottie's 3 and Pascal's 4. To me, the decision is still obvious. One of these guys is 22, the other guy's 29. What are we talking about here? So what I'm saying is, in order for the keys to be handed over, one must simply be marginally better. Now, it's like saying, for instance, I need you to give me what is it? What's a good example? I need you to give me $100 and you give me $10,000. Even if I lose some of that money, I'm still good. This is probably the worst example that I'm giving because I'm sleepy, but I'm saying Scottie has exceeded the bar that he needed to hit by so much that no matter how much he falls from here on out, unless it falls off a cliff, which it won't unless it's injuries, there's no debate here. This is over. Do you know what I mean? He's not outperforming Siakam through 7 games. He's outperforming any 7-game stretch of a 2-time All-NBA guy's life. This is what people who say small sample size, they don't understand. What they don't understand is statistical improbabilities. The odds of somebody who is, let's say, okay, let's put it this way. What is the whole point of sample bias? It is to weed out a misrepresentative sample. So let's say Scottie is really a 0 box plus minus player or a 1 box plus minus player who is having the luckiest streak of games and facing lucky opponents, and he somehow managed to hit 8. So the statistical logical thing to do here would be to then calculate what are the odds that a player who is 0 box plus minus or 1 box plus minus could string together 7 games, which would be 8 box plus minus. And then you have to look for statistical improbabilities. I would say the odds of that happening, 1 in 30,000, 1 in 50,000. Your 8 best games, when you're a 1, your 8 best games usually, if you're a high minutes, high usage guy, it's different when you're a low usage, low minutes guy. Totally different, right? If you're a low minutes, low usage guy, the odds go way higher. But I'm talking 27% usage, 36 minutes a night. If that's your role and that's your usage, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to be a 1 who masquerades as an 8 for even 5 games, much less 7. So to me, this is where I say statistical signal. Again, I shared this on Instagram, but I've never really shared this here. I worked at a hedge fund. So my job was to track companies and to study biopharmaceutical companies. And we were given hundreds and hundreds of companies to look at every single year. And they all have these drugs that are promising. And this board member from, Pfizer, and this board member from Moderna, and this board member from this place, and this letter of recommendation to this, and this, and it's all so promising. And they're going into phase 2 trials. And you just have to go through hundreds and hundreds of pages and make a determination on what is real and what is not. And at some point, you have to come up with a guess. And it sounds stupid, but it is a guess. You're not calling it a guess. You're calling it an educated opinion. But at the very best, it is like a 96% conclusive guess with a lot of research that this company is something that is worth holding in one of your long-term portfolios. And if it goes boom, if the reporting is fucked, if the board is corrupt, if the trials fail, that's tough shit, and you have to do that research. So at some point you do have to weed out you do have to come to a conclusion on how sure are you. And that's when you have to factor in for market inefficiencies and efficiencies. And so what I'm trying to say here is, with Scottie, I am 99.9% sure that he's not a 1.5 to 2 box plus minus player.
I would 100% agree with that. But
okay, so that's the baseline he needed to clear for me to exceed Siakam. Yeah, so therein lies my entire argument. So if he stays 8, if he goes 10, that's like cherry on top. I mean, it's a very, very big cherry on top. It's a historical cherry on top. But to me, it's a very simple thing. If Scottie is an borderline all-star at 22 who has half decent efficiency, and right now he is not a borderline all-star, he is a all-NBA guy with crazy efficiency and crazy two-way impact. If the two-way impact falls off a little bit, he's still, all-star level. And if the all-star level falls off, he's still borderline all-star. And guess what? If all of that falls off, he's still 22.
Yeah, I don't see the two-way stuff falling off. My only concern would be the efficiency early on, especially from 3. I still think he's a 4 to 5 blocks plus minus guy this year. Like I'm not trying to say
crazy.
That is crazy.
Just an FYI, just for anyone who doesn't know what that means, Fred VanVleet was an all-star at 3.
He was like what? Yeah,
3?
Yeah. He was like 2.
Pascal Siakam was 2-time All-NBA at 3.5. None of these guys have clipped 4 in their lives.
Yeah.
I think DeMar didn't clip 4 as a Raptor. Bosch clipped 4 once as a Raptor. So you're saying he's a 4.5? That's Chris Bosch in his final year as a Raptor, which was 2010 every single night, beefed up guy.
Right. I never called him a scrub. I think the whole point of my argument, I think we're agreeing, but we're arguing different points.
Okay.
My point,
long term, would you build an offense around Siakam and Barnes? Long term,
if they're both 22 or they're both who they are right now.
No, right now who they are.
Oh yeah, yeah. You'd be stupid to build an offense around a 30-year-old guy. But if he would sit back.
They built an offense around an 18-year-old Kobe and like a 25-year-old or 19-year-old Kobe and 27-year-old Shaq. Like it can work. I mean, the guy's not falling off a cliff. I'm just saying, he's not. To me, the argument about Siakam is not even necessarily that they're 20. That they're not the same age. The argument is necessary. They don't necessarily fit very well.
No.
Do they?
I think they fit on the same roster, but not on the same court. Does that make sense?
Who are you benching?
No. That's not what I mean. I mean, like when you play them off each other in different lineups, like when Pascal's out there without Scottie or Scottie's out there without Pascal, I think it plays together very well because you have 2 primary playmakers who could also play as secondary playmakers on the floor.
You cannot have 2 max guys who can't play together.
You brought up like the thing I'm most concerned about, and that is the dynamic, or the polarizing that we're going to see, where nights where you see what Siakam did tonight are going to be nights where Scottie is doing what he's doing because he's basically the sheepdog.
Agreed.
Nights where Scottie is like feasting and absolutely just dominating in the paint and like wherever he chooses to drop bombs from. The Siakam is just going to be this fucking lost puppy wandering about, and like much like Jakob, where the number of deer in the headlight moments that I've watched with these guys when Scottie is on, it's
Mhm.
it's ridiculous. They have no idea what to do.
So I want to take our attention real quick and direct it to the West Coast. I have a friend who's a diehard Lakers fan. This is the same conversations they're having with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Unfortunately, is that they play better when one's on the floor, one's off the floor, and then when they're both on the floor, kind of like the point of when Scottie's in control, Siakam looks like a lost puppy. When LeBron's in control, AD's kind of looking like a lost puppy. This is the same arguments that they're having that we're having, and I mean I don't think they figured it out yet either, and we haven't. And I think whichever team figures it out first, the other team's going to kind of piggyback off the same idea.
I mean, LeBron and AD won a championship together, so if they're
They did,
struggling, it's
but
probably the other three guys on the court.
that
AD's
roster
always
was a
crashing the
lot deeper.
glass.
Hmm?
At least AD's always crashing the glass. Siakam's not doing anything when he doesn't have the ball on the offensive end.
Thank you.
He did have like
I
one
mean,
or
he
two
had
good
12
moments tonight.
rebounds. Like he had 12 rebounds. He had like a lot of really like it's so crazy though. Like I'm watching the rebounds he's getting, and it's like somebody else boxed out and he just falls in his hands.
It is Mickey.
Yeah.
And it's just like people are gonna be like
easy
see,
rebounds. It's just like easy buckets.
but it's so impossible when someone puts a statistical line like this to go out and say they had a bad game. But he didn't have like I mean by his standard, he had like an okay game or a good game even, because his past few games have been so bad. But it's just like, holy shit, man. Like, I mean, it's hard to say someone who got 12, 13 rebounds, like whatever he got, didn't do work on the glass. You know what I mean? Because I mean, like they just point to the fucking thing and be like, look, I got 12 rebounds. But it's like, bro, I'm watching the game. You're not boxing out. You're missing assignments all the time. It's like someone who gets three steals. Like it doesn't mean you played good defense. Just because someone got 29 points doesn't mean you scored well. Like I mean, box scores, man. Like
You've heard Scottie and Darko say it. They keep talking about pride in the box, like boxing out, and it's you can almost feel like
Gary did it today. Did you see it?
Yep.
It's very impressive.
I will say like I'm a huge Gary fan, and I've struggled seeing how sad he's looked, if that makes sense, this year.
Sure.
And tonight felt like his first
a good game.
Yeah, like because he like what is Gary? Gary's a shooter, right? Like that's
right.
And if he's not in that, right, and he's doing this like off the floor, and he's missing, like he's had some pretty ugly games, and
sure.
it drives like his effectiveness, if that makes any sense. His ego feeds that's his fuel for playing really well, if that makes any sense.
I mean, I think this entire team has shown me that they're more willing to move the ball and play defense when their shots are going in. They have felt that way pretty much the entire year, right? So, surprise, surprise, Pascal Siakam is ready to talk to the media. So we will put that up for everybody. He had a good game, so he will, talk to the media. It'll be very nice to hear his thoughts about stuff that has been happening, and hopefully, I mean, I saw some pictures from the Raptors practice a couple of days ago, and a friend of mine was close to where they were practicing in San Antonio, and they sent like a whole bunch of pictures that were not posted to social media that I can't post on social media, and they seem like a close-knit group. Also, big shout outs to Susan Garrett, who is at the game tonight. She's a community member here, and she runs an awesome channel called Susan Garrett Dogs, which is, if you have a dog, which I think, Jonathan, you have a dog.
I have two, yeah.
I have two dogs. I have a dog. And Susan is amazing. She gives you advice on training.
Can she stop my dog from barking?
Yes.
Oh,
100%. Go.
Definitely
check out Susan Garrett Dogs. She sent me pictures of OG and Scottie from tonight because she was sitting courtside, and it's so cool to see that, because I mean I've gotten to sit courtside about a few times in my life, and it is, to anyone who ever has a chance to do it, I know it's super expensive. Please do it. like you will have a completely different appreciation for the pace of the game and how fast things are. It's awesome. Yeah. Anyways, it feels good to win, man. Like I know like there's an entire process behind like how I want to win and whatever, but I mean, let's be real. This is a good team by the record. I don't buy that they're a good team overall. I think they're like a play-in team. That's my read. I think they're a play-in team. I think if we play out the whole season, they're a play-in team. But a lot
Like
of people
this,
think
yeah.
we're not a play-in team. So like to me, it's like you beat the Mavericks, you beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Both games were kind of ugly for Scottie. Both games he flanked the defense. Right?
Mm-hmm.
These were very similar games. Game 1
Yeah.
and game 8 were very similar Scottie games. You know what I mean?
I agree. There was a lot of sloppy.
It was sloppy, you know, it wasn't a tremendous amount of lift. Both games felt like his ankle was a little bit stiff, or, you know, his lateral movement wasn't quite there. But somehow, like, he just turbocharges his legs to be able to block shots, and he just goes into this zone where he's just going to quarterback the defense.
He's a monster in like our own paint. Like nothing was happening.
Yeah. Richard saying, I gotta say, I heard someone say this wasn't a big win earlier. Hard disagree. Cool. I think any win on the road for a team that isn't like a dominant team is probably like, I don't want to say a great win or anything like that, but I mean, it's good. It's good. You'd much rather win this than lose it. You don't have your pick. There's no advantage to losing at all. So team tank world order, you are dead. You know, we're 4-4, and we have a very, very strong vested interest. Also, like, I think to those of you who are pro trade Pascal Siakam, helps to trade from a position of advantage. You know, I think like if you end up like 1-9, like you lose a lot of leverage. I think teams will know that you have to bottom out, that you have to trade this guy, things are not working out, etc. If he continues to play badly, you lose more leverage. Now, granted, if you play super well, maybe you also lose leverage because now MLSE is like, no, we have to make the playoffs, and this guy gets us to the playoffs. Fuck free agency. Let him walk for nothing. I don't know.
I think he's least likely to walk for nothing, though.
I mean, how are you supposed to keep OG at a max and Pascal at a max, man? That's two max slots for guys who don't get you to a championship.
But who do you think stays? I mean, okay, if you offer them,
I mean, Gary's gone. If these two stay for a max, Gary's gone. And you are capped.
I almost think Gary's gone regardless. I don't see how he wants to stay here on a bench role. You know, like I know Gary through his cousins. Like I went to Gahanna Lincoln High School. His cousins, both actually, his whole family went to Gahanna Lincoln High School too. So like I had classes with his family. Like I was really good friends with his cousin LaCar, who ran track at University of Cincinnati. I've been at Hanna Park in Gahanna, where Gary Trent Jr. will come back during the summer and do basketball runs. You know, like I know Gary's family like that. And like they don't settle. I like LaCar never settled. He's my guy.
Have you met his dad?
I have not. I know like my dad met his dad a few times, had hung out with his dad a few times.
Thoughts? What did your dad think of him? He's a fun dude, eh?
He's a damn good dude. He went to Worley high school, and my dad went to South, and they were like right down the street from each other. So like the basketball runs, I mean, there's like the court in between the two high schools, like the basketball runs. So freaking huge dude.
Yeah.
I forget the nickname they gave him. I think they called him back in high school. They called him like something cream. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, our version of Walmart today, whatever it was to them back then, because he was just this big dude who would dominate in the post, but like in reality, he was like 6'6", 6'7", you know, like small ball center kind of.
That's 6'5", 6'6", but yeah, sure.
Yeah. Gary Trent was a good dude though. He's a very strong, opinionated dude, and he still is today.
He is. Yeah.
But like I think he's gone regardless, to be honest with you, unless for some reason he's in the starting lineup by the end of the year and he's getting 12, 13 shots a game. I think he's gone. I think he's more willing to settle on a team like the Hornets or the Wizards, even if they're bad, if he gets his shots.
Hmm.
He's a damn good dude though. Like damn good guy. Like everybody, I mean, like, you know, you're at a park and people are here, oh, NBA players here, NBA players here, like, they're gonna pull up. Like, he didn't shy away from talking to people. Like, he talked to freaking everybody that was there. Like, anybody who came up to him, he talked to him. You know, like, he, like, said what's up, did, like, little Snapchat videos. Like, he's super freaking cool, dude. Super down to
I've
earth.
heard. I know a few people who know him, and yeah, I heard the same thing. Like I was pretty critical of him because of his shot selection and his defense like a couple of years ago. I really came a really long way to ultra positive on him last year when I heard him talking about and saw how he dealt with Nick Nurse benching him, just like trying to be professional, trying to be an energy giver. Plus, I also like see his in there was like one play with Scottie last year where Scottie was being faced with that drop coverage and he wasn't attacking it. And he passed it to Gary. And then he passed it back. He passed it to Jakob, I think. Jakob passed it to Gary. He passed it back to him. And I think he passed it back to Fred. And then they caught like a little bit of the clip of the TV going away from them. And you get a close up of Gary going up to Scottie and being like, you need to shoot that. And I was just like, yes, this is exactly what I want from Scottie's teammates, to hold him accountable, to take shots that he is otherwise like being passive on. It, again, it's like the least selfish thing you can do is to coach a teammate to do something that is not necessarily to your advantage, but to the team's advantage, you know? Yeah. Like it's one thing when Nick Nurse and Fred VanVleet are just like, oh, he needs to be more aggressive. He needs to be more aggressive. And then boom, you just freeze him out of the offense. You ice him out of the offense. But yeah, I mean, look, Scottie goes through these waves. I talked about it. Like last year, he came out like gangbusters. He had a little bit of a lull, and then he finishes strong. So to me, it's like I think you start to develop like some sort of patterns with certain players and rhythm with certain players. Certain guys, they have like stronger second half of the season than first half. I think with Scottie, at least my read on it is December is the month where things dip a little bit with him. Whatever reason. Could be weather, could be whatever. I have no idea. Maybe it completely flips this year. 2 years does not make a trend.
Hope
but
not.
yeah.
I said you'd hope not. You'd hope not, because it seems like Scottie's always dips in December, and then Pascal always dipped in January. And it was like they never were on the same page until February, and then they just go on runs together.
Well, that would be a great time to pull your shit together, wouldn't it? February is a great time.
It would. I would prefer
also,
to have
when you consider like that they don't have necessarily the most natural synergy together. Seems like a great thing that they're peaking at different times. Imagine if they were to both flatline at the same time, you'd be screwed.
It's the weirdest chemistry I've ever seen, because they obviously both really like each other. They both obviously really respect each other and respect each other's games. Like there's no beef with each other whatsoever at all. And it's like they hop on the court and it looks
What
like
are you basing that on? Because of Scottie saying Pascal's my favorite player?
Yeah, and all the posts, I mean, just stuff I've heard about they get together. Like they're not gonna hang out outside the court, but like they don't hate each other. They're not at each other's throats. They're not calling each other. It's not a Scottie and Fred situation. Let me put it that way.
Sure. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah. Anyways, no, I think it's worth thinking about long term that if you could pair Scottie with one of three player types, none of those player types look like Pascal Siakam.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, give me if you are to trade Pascal, I hope it's that the Kings get so desperate that they give us Keegan Murray.
How does Keegan fit in with Scottie OG?
I
Is he
think
a power forward in this?
He's almost like a OG light on defense.
Oh my god, no!
That can score,
fuck off.
That can shoot higher
no
three. No. Hear me out. The Kings did a really good job.
I will not hear you out.
The Kings did a really good job last year. With especially later in the season,
bro. Okay, is OG light like your version of like light ice cream is basically you drop a drop of ice cream in water and you call it ice cream? Like how light is light?
I think you could almost okay. I think it fits if you play him as a big 2.
Okay, I need to watch more tape on him. If you're telling me this, I need to watch more on him. Because
If
I'll
you're
tell
going
you,
for-
I was for look, if that is true, then holy shit, I am so wrong on Keegan Murray. Look, I remember when he was drafted, I said, look, this is one of the most error-free players, but the ceiling is not super high. And if you're telling me that he's OG light on defense and you can play him at the 2, 3, and 4, apparently, because they definitely have played him a little bit at the 3 and a little bit at the 4.
I think
have
he is.
I have a lot of learning to do about Keegan Murray, apparently. So
I think right now he's comparable to Pascal Siakam on ball, but smarter off ball. On defense, he is a very high IQ player. Off ball, on defense as a help defender.
is he just way more athletic than I care to realize?
I think he is. I don't think he gets to show it though in
Like
Sacramento.
Pascal Siakam on the ball is guarding freaking point guards. His
Yeah,
off-ball awareness is crazy bad, but
So,
like
wait,
he's
hold on.
guarding.
I have a question for you. If we trade Siakam, are we still doing the positionless basketball thing?
Yes, clearly.
Okay, then yeah, Keegan Murray makes sense. Or Jabari Smith Jr. I mean,
wow. Well, I mean, those
I
are
mean-
both top 5 picks from last year's draft. Like, I mean, it'd be very, very early for, I mean, there's so much equity. The teams put so much equity into building up these prospects in fans' minds, and fans become so attached. I mean, most fan bases are not like Toronto Raptor fans. You know what I mean? Like, they're not just jumping to throw away their lottery picks the way that we are with Scottie Barnes, right? Like last year, I'm pretty sure if you had said Scottie Barnes for the 7th pick, like most people would have been like, sure. That's scary. But like most of these fan bases, like they've really bought into the hype of these players,
Well, I mean, okay, let's. I mean,
how could you not? You're seeing
huge-
Cade Cunningham listed 6th on the ESPN's top 25 under 25, and he hasn't posted a single win share in 3 years. But apparently, 23 points is 23 points, regardless of how you get it. I mean, this is crazy.
It's disgusting, but like, I mean, let's play hypotheticals here.
He doesn't even make my top 25. I mean, maybe that's crazy, but no, he does not.
I think he's 20 through 25, under 25.
Bro, he's not even top 3. Okay, he's 3rd on his own team. For me, I take Asar and I take Jalen Duren over him. Like I don't
Instagram, you put him like 21, and then in the thing you said players I really like.
Yeah, and I
I
deleted it because I realized I didn't have Case and Wallace, and I was missing somebody else as well. So I deleted that, and now I'm going to think about it. Also, I think I missed Josh Giddey in the whole thing. Josh Giddey was just not there.
I love Josh.
No, I like Josh Giddey too. He's definitely better than Cade Cunningham for me. So, I mean, I have to really think about this top 25 under 25. I feel like I'm so locked in on Scottie that Scottie has to be my number 1 pick in this. But then there's a part of me that's just like, does that just discredit this whole list for everybody? Like when people are seeing this, like Scottie Barnes, Luka Doncic, Victor Wembanyama, how are you having Scottie Barnes over these guys? I don't know. I'm probably being completely stupid. But it's
I think you've done more research on him than most people have, so I don't think that's unfair.
I've done a lot of research on him, but I've also done a lot of research on Luka. Like Luka comes from our country. Like I was born in the same country as Luka. Like we're both from Yugoslavia. Like I've known about Luka since he was 15 years old. Like I've known a lot about these players. Nikola Jokic since he was 17 years old. Victor Wembanyama when he was 16 years old. Followed these prospects the whole way through. They're all incredible. But I'm blinded by Scottie plays for my city. Scottie is Scottie, it's like it's really hard to distance yourself from that idea of I just think this player impacts winning in such a way. I think Luke is frustrating to watch sometimes. I've never been frustrated by Scottie. I mean, maybe there's a couple times I've been frustrated by Scottie, like, why don't you take that shot? Why don't you take that shot? But like I never have to like, I don't know. Like with Luka, like it's just like I'm sure Luka could win championships. Positive, Luka can win championships. I'm sure Victor Wembanyama can win championships. I'm sure they will. I'm pretty sure both those guys are going to win championships. I don't know. I can't bring myself to move off of Scottie.
It's just like Scottie, though, not with that roster.
Yeah, I mean, this might be a very rough take, but I feel like Luka gives me James Harden vibes. Like James Harden.
Yeah, for sure.
Whoa.
James Harden vibes. Like It's just
But he shows
sell
up
out.
in the playoffs. It's a completely different equation. If James Harden showed up in the playoffs, he wouldn't be James Harden.
Yeah.
He'd be Michael Jordan. like, you know what I mean?
That's also crazy.
Like, I mean, in fairness, right? Like, I mean, okay, fine, you don't get the two-way impact, but like, I don't know. I see what you're saying. I mean, it's funny. Like, honestly, like, yo, if anyone wants to hear like the dumbest questions ever asked of a head coach in the history of the world, listen to the questions they asked Darko Rajakovic yesterday. Oh my God.
Were they treating like a 5-year-old?
Bro, like, no, it wasn't even like condescending. It was just such an evidence of like how stupid they are. Like, it was almost like O.G Anunoby can guard ones and guard fives. How does that help you?
What?
Okay.
There was, I think this was like a question posed by Doug Smith. You know, how does that help you? You know,
was he just like Googling the word basketball? And then
he's been doing this for 20 plus years. Like, I just don't understand. And then, you know, it's just like, yo, like, I mean, I understand softball questions. I understand, you know, like the fluff pieces. You got an article to write. You need a couple quotes, whatever. I get it. But like, yo, like, how can you be asking a coach if it's valid? And I mean, like, credit to Darko Rajakovic, you know, just very seriously answering. Like, yes, it's very good for us to have a player who can guard, you know, 1 through 5. And it's just like, I just, you know, I love what Nikola Jokic did yesterday. Did you see it? He got to the presser and he said, I already know what questions you guys are going to ask. So here are my answers. And he answered all the questions before they asked.
That's hilarious.
Yo, it's amazing. I think if I have actually, like, while I'm playing this next clip, I think I'm going to download that just to be the end of this video. But yeah, anyways, thank you all for coming on. If there's any final words, I'll give you each the final word. If you can keep it to a couple sentences or less, I would be super appreciative. Lane, final word.
I've talked enough. I appreciate it.
Okay, Jonathan, final words.
Just love being here, man.
Appreciate you, man. Ghostface, final words.
Yeah, I have two thoughts, right? I'll make them quick.
Sure.
Over these past 2 games, I think Malachi Flynn has been playing like a poor man's Jalen Suggs. So if for those of you that wanted Suggs, you got the C tier version who has the potential to develop into a B tier version, in my opinion. Because not only does he look better as a defender, he looks better as a playmaker, and I love it. So all that Kyle Lowry shit y'all was throwing on Suggs, you might have it in Flynn, but like a lower tier version.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't know about the Kyle Lowry thing, but I'm feeling you a little bit on the Suggs thing. Suggs is way better though. Like,
yeah, that's what I said, like a poor man's version, right?
But like a poor man's smaller version of Suggs is not a bad backup point guard.
Yeah, it's a good rotation. Like, you ever played against somebody who, like, they chase you on defense so much that you get 1 second of breathing room, you just gotta chase that shit up, right? You just gotta throw it up.
Yeah, Andre. I remember him. Shout outs to Andre. Yeah, I remember that.
That's what Flynn is giving me.
Relentless energy. Yo, this is what we needed from him. That's a really good take. I like it. Yo, I mean, look, I don't think I've been lower on any player in my life than Malachi Flynn. Maybe Rafael Rougeau. That was it. Like, if I had to rank out my all-time preseason Raptor takes, I'm pretty sure it goes Rafael Rougeau, Kem Birch, Malachi Flynn. Like, that was probably like the bottom. If I had to rank out every Raptor ever.
What about Marquise Noel? You was kind of low on
Marquise Noel, I'm super low on too. Hold on. Who else? There are a couple. Oh, for sure. Eric Moreland. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. Okay. Malachi Flynn is among every single rotation player that's ever played for the Raptors across the last 15 years. I think I might be lowest on him other than Kem Birch. So it was pretty low. And this is, like, I've been so impressed, like, the last 3-4 games. I'm just so impressed with him. It's not even like, yo, forget like what he was doing the first few games where he's just like bleeding clock and like killing pace. Like, he is really playing with better pace. It's not perfect. It's not point guard, but it's like secondary playmaker shit. Like, you're right. Like, when you said Suggs, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what I would expect Jalen Suggs to be.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I agree.
That's pretty cool.
And my second thing was
Man,
think
leave
if
on a
we,
high note. If your second thing is not as good as your first thing,
no, you know what? Just for that, I'm gonna have a third thing that's even better. But
fuck.
listen.
Okay.
My second thing is about the Luka Scottie Wemby thing. I think if we discuss purely upside, I think the defensive gap for Scottie and Wemby is going to be higher than the offensive gap with Luka. So I don't think you're completely crazy for putting Scottie one. I think the defensive gap is going to be a lot higher than the offensive gap between Scottie and Luka and
Mhm.
Wemby and Luka. And then my third thing is you were asking for podcasts earlier. Everybody tuning to the best podcast in the world, the Pat Bev podcast. You're going to love it.
No. Pivot is better than Pat Bev podcast. Come on.
Yeah.
I would pay to watch Scottie Barnes and Pat Bev throw
Oh my
fists.
god.
Throw
I would-
fists?
Throw fists. I want to see Serge Ibaka, prime. Who did he fight on the Cavs? Shit, was it Marquise? I forget. But I
I
want to
don't
see.
remember. I mean, look, man, we need. I'm sorry. Like, sign me to a 10-day. I will scrap with Pat Bev.
Dude, I feel like Dennis Schroeder look you would.
He's a troll though. Pat Bev's a troll. It's funny.
Yeah.
He said Scotty apologized too.
No,
That-
I don't believe that.
I
don't,
mean,
I don't either.
I don't necessarily believe that either, but like that, my bad, Pat. Like that, does that sound like something
It's
Scotty would
unlike
say?
Scotty.
Yeah, it actually does.
No,
Like,
I mean, I meant he. There's no way he apologized. Like,
well, my
Scotty-
bad, Pat is
Yeah.
like if he calls him a bitch ass
Mm,
and
yeah.
then he apologized, like that's kind of like a punk move on Scotty's part if he did it.
He's
So,
a
Pat
bad
Bev is the
man.
same dude that said he beat CP3 in a one-on-one in some games. Like I don't take anything he says seriously. He's a troll. Definitely a troll.
You know what's crazy? He put up 37 a game in high school, though. That's
I
just
was
how
literally about to say that. Like, yeah, he did put up 37 a game in high school, but relax, it was high school. Like,
No,
I'm saying that as someone who never even scored 37 points in high school. So I'm just saying, like, but still,
that's just how good NBA players are. Like, it's crazy.
they are. They're all Mr. All State. They're all that good.
Mhm.
They're like, you know what I
Like,
mean?
it's
Like
like-
Joe Wieskamp is like
Do you-
breaking every record. He cannot stick in the
Do you guys
league, but
watch football at all? Like
Yes.
any football, college,
I
NFL.
don't.
Used to a little bit.
So
Not
I
every day.
saw, so like I'm a huge fan of like the Joel Klatt show, and they were talking about like CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young in the NFL right early on, and everyone was like, yeah, but Bryce Young saw SEC defenses his whole college career, and then Joel Klatt's like, yeah, but what you don't realize is every single defender in the NFL is all conference, all American, all SEC, like they're the best of the best. Like it
Mhm.
doesn't matter that you saw what you saw in college. It matters what you're going to see in the NFL. And it's like,
There's
damn,
only
like
so
it
many
really makes
spots.
sense for like every single sport. Like, you know, like think about how many guys win the is it the Naismith Award in college basketball, which is kind of like the Heisman
Mhm.
equivalent to football. And it's
Yeah.
like they're like second round picks or they're undrafted. You know what I mean? Like it
Um,
doesn't equate.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll leave this to you guys to answer just as a yes or no. Would you trade Pascal Siakam for Jalen Hood-Schifino, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, and a first round pick?
No.
You would
No.
not trade Pascal.
I would not trade him for that. If I'm
No.
trading, I need a top 25 player under 25
What, Reeves?
from a
I
desperate
mean,
team. From a desperate team.
Hold on. You need a top 25 player under 25. So
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, a top 35 player under 25.
Is it an
I don't think you can
unprotected-
fetch
is
that.
it-
Austin
for
Reeves
Siakam.
is not that far off, man.
I was going to say Austin
Mm,
Reeves
they-
and the
they're
is it an
stats.
unprotected pick?
Reeves looks so much better
Uh,
because of the gravity AD
Or is
has
it like a
as
top
screen
6
setter.
protected?
That's what I'm
I'm
saying.
not
Like
saying no.
Yeah, let's
anybody
say
who
it's
puts-
unprotected. Let's say it's lottery protected.
Okay,
No,
I would do it.
no.
I would.
I guess you know what? This all depends on how you feel about Jalen Hood-Schifino. It really does. If you believe in him, and I'm not sure I do, because I think I had him around 21, 22 on my draft board. I don't remember exactly, but I was not super high on him. If you don't believe in him, and he is not really playing for them right now, so last I checked, then this is really just doing it for Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell and a pick that will convey probably very late because they are the Lakers. They're very rarely bad. they're also very rarely good lately, but they're also so
Well,
I
with
don't
not
know.
having a first
I don't think.
and
You're-
the Raptors being able to find talent the way that they can, plus the fact that you fatten your bench with Reeves and Russell, like
how much
I
does
don't
Russell
like
do for you
D'Angelo
though?
Russell though.
Yeah, he doesn't do
But I
much.
mean, like, is he
Inconsistent, very inconsistent.
Very inconsistent, very ball
defensive
dominant,
liability?
defensive liability. I hate to say it as an Ohio State fan because Russell is from. I mean, he is a product of
Yeah.
Ohio State. It's like
but under dark, I don't know. Maybe
He
I
was a
believe
mess
Dark One's
before he
got me
got to
too much.
Ohio State. Don't worry.
I mean,
I don't trust D'Lo.
Ohio State did not make him the way
No.
that he is. He was that way before he got there in high
hey
school.
man, don't disrespect like that. Come on, don't disrespect my boy Thad Mata like that. I'm just messing with you. But
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't know about this. I tend to agree with this top third. So there's like always this temptation to go for a glut of mediocre assets. But there is a consequence here. You're taking 3 roster players back. Who are you waiving? Right?
Yeah,
It's a 3 for 1. So I mean, like now at this point, I'm like, okay, so none of these guys are two-way guys. So I have to waive Garrett Temple, or am I waiving Thaddeus Young? Or am I, somehow including, like, who am I getting rid of here? The only guys who like I could waive, I guess I could waive Jalen McDaniels, but he's got 2 years left on his deal.
Yeah.
He's got a guaranteed 2-year contract with no option. So I mean, like, it's really tough to make these 3 for 1 type of deals, which is typically where you end up going when you have like a player who makes a lot of money. The problem is, like, I think when people see like a large collection of things, they over prioritize the numerical, the quantity of assets going in. So like sometimes people will hear O.G Anunoby for this player and 2 first-round picks, and people will be like, wow, 3 things for 1 thing, because that's as far as some people can think. To me,
would you rather have 5
it is the quality of the best penny. Sorry, the quality of the best coin.
Yeah.
So like I would rather, like, to put this into context, I am very high on Onyeka Okongwu, right? Like very high. And he has taken another step this year and he's hitting some threes, and I remain very bullish that he would be on my top 25, under 25.
Do you think he's a good rim protector?
Yes.
Yes. I think he's a very versatile big. I
don't like some of his rotations personally. That's just me. I think he's
covering
right
for
now.
so much.
Yeah, that is true.
He has to do so much on that defense because it's like Trae Young's got to be guarding somebody, so it's pretty much like you're playing.
But DeJounte Murray is their point of attack, and Sadiq Bey isn't horrible. Jalen Johnson's not horrible.
No, but I mean, still.
You're saying Sadiq is not horrible?
No, I think he's closer to average than he is to horrible.
Fair. He is closer to average than he is to horrible. AJ is not good defender, even though I like him a lot as a player. Jalen Johnson is probably, I haven't watched him play much this year, but someone called him baby Scottie. I think that's like chill on that, but like his
shooting right now is crazy.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, for me, like, one Onyeka Okongwu beats this whole package. Is basically what I'm saying.
I don't think the upside of Hood-Schifino is worth what else we could get for Siakam.
Agreed.
I don't see it, but I think he looked okay in summer league. I just don't see it.
Would you make the trade for Tyler Hero? Like, would you do Tyler Hero for Pascal one for one?
No.
Yes. I say this as a Pascal fan. Yes.
I don't see how. What does he do on this team? Like, he's a better defender now, but like, Hero's what? He's your primary ball handler.
No, secondary scoring. He's a better fit next to Barnes. He's a movement shooter. He gives you consistently 38% from 3 and up. Like, he's a guy that you put him next to.
So is Gary.
So is Gary, but Gary is not Tyler Hero. Like Tyler Hero, Gary Trent Jr. is Walmart Tyler Hero.
I mean, he's not the playmaker, but how would you rate their defense? Like, I think Gary's at least trying on defense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
is he a better defender than Tyler Hero?
Yes,
I would say so. Yes. So,
but Hero got better.
I don't think so.
Hero got better on defense.
Yeah, but he's not. Look, I'd say out of 15 plays, Hero might get 2 stops. Out of 15 plays, Gary might get 5.
I think that's a fair assessment, and that's pretty much where I was on Tyler Hero last offseason. Look, we are so early in the season that I have actually not had a chance to watch every single team play more than 2 games. So there are certain teams where I've watched 2 games. There are some teams where I've watched 3 games. There are some teams where I've watched 1 game. I need to watch more than 2 games to see the jump. Like Onyeka, Dyson Daniels, like all the young players that I really like in the NBA, I need to see them for more than like 1 game. Jordan Hawkins, for instance, Zion, Ben Simmons, Cam Thomas. Like I need to see all these players like play a full game.
Thomas is good.
He's been a bucket for sure. He like reminds me of those like early 2000s scorers. So really interesting
Jamal
player.
Crawford.
Like on steroids. like with more with more volume. Like the dude has clipped I think he's clipped 30 points like a few times this year, like 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah.
He's averaging 29 right now.
Yeah, so I mean like that's insanity. And I mean like he's pretty efficient too.
Okay, wait. So hypothetical, what sounds better going into next year as a Raptors fan as your starting lineup? Dennis Schroeder, Tyler Hero, O.G Anunoby, Scottie Barnes, and Jakob Poeltl, or you re-sign Pascal to the max and it's Dennis Schroeder, O.G Anunoby, Scottie Barnes, Pascal Siakam, Jakob. I go with the first one, and that's as a Pascal. As a Pascal fan, I think Tyler Hero just sounds like such a better fit. I think though, if you trade Tyler, you're also trade Tyler. If you trade Pascal, you're also trading Gary. So like, there's another move to be made there, and then even maybe at that point, you're trading Yok too.
Mm-hmm.
I can live without Gary if we have Grady. I have more potential in his. Faith in his upside.
I like his brains, man. I love Gary's brain.
Yeah.
I really like Grady's brain. Like just watching him when he passes the ball, he moves, and he always moves to the right spot. Like it is such textbook basketball. Like once that shot starts dropping, and he gets more confidence in himself, which I mean, like he's a rookie.
Right.
Think other rookies like O.G Anunoby, his rookie year, like he would not have sniffed the floor if he couldn't play defense.
Agreed.
Bro, like Cam Thomas is like, I mean, sorry, I miffed. I am very curious about development trends, like growth trends. I'm very curious to see it because no 2 players develop equally. Like sometimes you see, I don't know, like stagnation, pop, and then it's over. You know what I mean? It happens one summer, and then like 90% of the growth happens at one summer. But some players, it really does go like clockwork. And it feels like for me, Cam Thomas is going like clockwork. Like very much
had
like
this in him since last season. He really has. He was dropping 40-point games.
I saw it for sure. Like after they made the trade, like for 3 games or 4 games, I think he was averaging 40 something points per game. No, I know it, but like putting it together for a whole season, putting it together for the start of the season, seven games, whatever. I mean, dude, just to put this into perspective, right now, as a scorer, he's ahead of Pascal Siakam.
It's not even the scoring this year from Cam Thomas, so that's surprising. It's the defensive jump that he's taken. Like last year, he was such a liability on defense. Like there was almost no reason to have him out there on the court because he'd score 2 and give up 3. This year, you have him out there, and he's actually getting you defensive stops. He's locking in as a defender.
32% usage, 58.8% true shooting. So that means he's just marginally, but significantly above for his usage. Like he's doing super well, right? I mean, this is a jump from his rookie season's 22% usage, and I mean he's finally positive box plus minus. I mean he's averaging like insane, like his per 100 possessions field goal attempts have gone from 20 to 30. He's shooting. I mean, and this is not hot 3-point shooting. He hasn't shot well from 3 yet.
Yeah. He's like what?
He's shooting 33% right now. Like he shot 38% last year. So this could be shooting variance, cold shooting, whatever. Right? He's a good shooter. He's been above 83% his whole career from the line. Usually a sign for a good shooter. So to me, it's like maybe tired legs from exerting himself on defense. Yo, could this guy at some point be a pretty efficient 60 true shooting percentage, 25 to 28 point per game guy on a winning team?
He reminds me of Bradley Beal, like 2018, 2019 Bradley Beal.
That's a really fair comp.
Yeah, I have to go to sleep. I'm sorry, I'm falling
All
asleep.
right. See you, Jonathan.
Peace.
Have a
Thanks
good
so
one,
much.
man. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, man.
See ya.
When I see Cam Thomas, I see Tyrese Maxey without the playmaking. It's just both.
Whoa. Athletically?
No, but just like sort of like just those pure scorers with tough shot making abilities.
I see what
But
you're
I think
saying.
Maxey moves off the ball a lot better. That's
Maxey's
Either way,
so
man, like these guys do not grow on trees. Having like, I mean, when you really think about it, like he has massively, massively clipped anything that I've seen from Cade, Jalen, and he's doing it on the same theoretical role, just
no,
less hyped, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's crazy to me. Anyways,
no.
guys, I'm gonna go to the call. Sorry, to the presser. But thanks a lot for joining in, man. I really appreciate it.
For
Yes, sir.
sure.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
great
it.
conversation, man. See ya.
Peace,
Yes, sir.
peace.
Peace. All right. Here's something you should know about me. When I get really sleepy, I just lose focus of time, which is really funny. Again, to anyone who does not want to listen to the presser, who may have already heard the presser, please feel free to watch the Scottie video on this channel that dropped earlier today. It is some of the better work that I've done for this channel for sure. Okay, let's load this up. Toronto media availability, and I will go get some, I don't know. Should I get some coffee? No, I think this is sleep time. So, oh, did I screw this up? Did I download? Oh my goodness. I apologize, guys. Hang on. Bear with me for a second. I have inadvertently downloaded the wrong video, and I will need 2 minutes to pull up the right video so that we can hear Pascal Siakam's post-game presser. And yeah, I apologize, guys. This is totally the lack of sleep. Hang on one sec. Get this. Oh, wait a second. What the hell? Nope. I'm not actually wrong. It's Toronto Raptors that are wrong, because their video says Toronto Raptors media availability post game at Dallas Mavericks, and then their video is Raptors tonight. So ironically, the Toronto Raptors have screwed up by posting the wrong video with the wrong caption. That's funny. Anyways, I apologize. Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I'm going to play this video, and it shows, like, the thumbnail shows Pascal Siakam standing there. I'm like, oh great, Pascal did post game. But it seems like it's just Raptors tonight. I'm gonna see if Jump View has it, but Jump View has stopped posting Raptors post game stuff. So now all the post game stuff is pretty much coming from. I don't know if Jump View is just taking a break, but all the post game stuff is coming from the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel itself, and they don't have it. So maybe they have some technical difficulties. Anyways, thanks a lot to anyone who stuck with us. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. I apologize for being so sleepy during this live. This was a very good win for the Raptors, even though it was not very good basketball. I'm just happy that they got a win, because again, like, I don't think the Dallas Mavericks played well. I don't think the Raptors played well. And sometimes maybe it's just good to not have the greatest offensive process, but given how many games have not broken your way because of a tough call here or a tough play here, to have one which does break your way, I guess, feels good. Anyways, also just speaking more from the side of the psychology, like, you would hate for a player to have to sit with a loss for 3 days. It's probably better to go into practice feeling good tomorrow. So anyways, thank you all so much to the 200, 300, 400 of you who are here. I think there's over 1,000 people who've joined since we started this. And yeah, thanks a lot. Cheers, guys. Have a great night. And yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to get some of these comments. Yes, I did. See ya. We need people who can create their own shots. Yeah, but you also need people who can read and react. I'm not sure Austin Reeves is it, but anyways, all right, guys, have a good one. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and definitely watch that Scottie Barnes video if you haven't already. Cheers, guys. Bye.